Chapter 618. In a small restaurant with a few home-cooked dishes, Charlotte and Fanfan's lunch was simple. "Brother Lazy, let's start when we get back." Fanfan looked down at the table and said, "Start what?" Fanfan pursed her lips and smiled. "You know what I'm talking about. I want to start my work as soon as possible." She was talking about the research on his body. Of course, Charlotte knew what she was talking about. He said, "Don't worry. Tomorrow or the day after. You know, I manage a company alone. There are a lot of things I need to deal with." "Are you going back to the company?" Fanfan's eyes flashed with a hint of disappointment. "Yes, I have to go back to the company," Charlotte said. "Then I'll go with you." "You're going back with me?" Charlotte looked at Fanfan and tried to guess her motives. Fanfan grinned. "Well, I want to take a look at your lab." Charlotte couldn't find a reason to refuse her, so he nodded. "Well, we'll go to my company after lunch. You can see my lab, but you can't touch the ancient alloy." "Well, okay, no problem." Fanfan looked very happy. At this time, a motorcycle slowly drove on the road outside the restaurant. The motorcycle was a very ordinary domestic motorcycle, and the rider was a sexy female rider with a slender waist and plump buttocks. The female rider was wearing a helmet, so her face couldn't be seen. The female rider entered Charlotte's sight, and Charlotte suddenly thought of a person. It was his father Xia Changhe's subordinate, Yelena. With this thought, his left eye twitched slightly. The glass window of the restaurant and the female rider's helmet disappeared from his sight in an instant. Under the female rider's helmet was a strange face, but Charlotte could tell at a glance that it was a delicate human skin mask. Who would appear here wearing a human skin mask? He didn't need to think about the answer, and he didn't need to use his X-ray vision to see the real face under the human skin mask to confirm the female rider's identity. She was Yelena. Charlotte wasn't surprised that Yelena appeared at this time. His father, Xia Changhe, was always there when he needed help the most, and now was exactly such a time. Yelena stopped the motorcycle by the roadside and got off. She walked across the street to a small supermarket. When she crossed the road, she turned back to look at Charlotte. She also turned her head in the direction of the mini-mart. This is a suggestive body language. Charlotte also got up and said, "Fanfan, wait for me here. I'm going to the supermarket across the street to buy something." Fanfan looked at Charlotte curiously. "We're eating. What are you buying at the supermarket?" Charlotte smiled and said, "I'm already full. I'm going to buy a box of xylitol. Isn't there an advertisement saying that chewing is healthier? I have a habit of chewing 2 tablets of xylitol after eating." "Go ahead. Please bring me a pack of tissues. Thank you," Fanfan said. After all, she was just a scientific researcher. Although she was a woman with a high IQ, she wasn't a professional agent like Long Bing and Tang Yuyan. She wouldn't suspect Charlotte just because of his strange behavior. "Well, no problem." Charlotte got up and left the restaurant. Charlotte quickly crossed the road and entered the mini-mart. He saw Yelena, who was selecting goods next to the shelves. He walked over and whispered, "Why are you here?" "It's because of you," Yelena said in Russian. "Your father is in the bathroom of this supermarket. Go quickly. You have a few minutes." Charlotte turned to leave, but Yelena grabbed him and put the shopping basket in her hand into Charlotte's hands. Charlotte was slightly stunned, but he quickly understood Yelena's intention. This was a mini-mart. If he didn't buy anything and just used the bathroom, the boss would definitely not be happy. She was indeed an experienced agent. She even noticed such a small detail. What surprised Charlotte was that Yelena even put xylitol in the shopping basket for him. When he walked to the cashier, Charlotte put a handful of tissues in the shopping basket. Charlotte carried the shopping basket to the cashier and put the shopping basket on the cashier. "Boss, how much is it?" "Okay, no problem." The boss began to scan the QR codes of the goods in the shopping basket. Charlotte said again, "Boss, where's the bathroom? I want to go to the bathroom." The boss pointed to the corridor behind him. "Go in from here, walk to the end, and you'll find the bathroom. Someone is repairing it, but it can still be used." "Thank you." Charlotte entered the corridor, walked along the corridor to the end, and then entered the bathroom. There was an old man dressed as a migrant worker in the bathroom. He was repairing the sink in the bathroom. There was a tool bag beside him, which was filled with things like hose pliers and hose connectors. It gave people a messy feeling. When Charlotte entered the bathroom, The old man stopped what he was doing and looked at Charlotte. Their eyes met. Charlotte's lips trembled, but he still called out, "Dad." This old man was none other than his father, Xia Changhe. Although Xia Changhe wore a leather mask on his face, he still recognized him at a glance. The father and son had met, but the place they met was in a bathroom like this. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. Lei. Xia Changhe hugged Charlotte. "Dad, why are you here?" Time was limited, so Charlotte went straight to the point. Xia Changhe let go of Charlotte and said, "I'm here to scold you." Charlotte was stunned on the spot. Xia Changhe's face became serious, and there was a trace of anger in his eyes. "Why did you take the blame for Shinta Tianyin? Do you know that you helped her? Those people at the top have an excuse to attack you." "You know," Charlotte was surprised. "Don't forget what your father does." Xia Changhe said coldly, "The Americans want to catch you, and so does the FA organization. Their purpose is to study you. Do you think China's intelligence agencies and think tanks are all vegetarians? I can tell you with certainty that when it comes to intelligence and espionage, China is one of the best in the world, no worse than the former Soviet Union. Think about it. The CIA wants to send you to the AE Research Center in Area 51 for research, and the FA organization also wants to catch you and study you. Why doesn't anyone here want to do the same? Charlotte had the secret of AE and had abilities beyond human beings. His evolution was simply a miracle. These factors, no matter which one, can make people crazy. Who didn't want to copy his magic? Who didn't want to copy his magic? If you don't take the blame for Shinta Tianyin, your credit will be feared. But now that you've used up the credit that you've worked so hard to build up, some people took advantage of the situation and launched a plan against you. I thought their plan would have to be delayed, and you would have made preparations at that time, but you actually... Xia Changhe let out a sigh, as if he was exasperated at his failure to live up to his expectations. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Dad, she is my wife. I knew her. She didn't want me to be the scapegoat. If I don't help her, she may die. I can't bear to see her end like this. After all, I also loved her. Before you and I got married, I concluded that your marriage would not last. Son, don't you understand that people like you and I are destined not to live like ordinary people in this life? You can't marry a wife, and you can't have children because you can never guarantee their safety. Dad, you are right. I am now divorced, and I will not marry any woman again." Charlotte said, "Forget it. It has already happened, and I don't want to talk to you anymore." Xia Changhe said, "I got some information. As far as I know, Fan Yiming and Fan Fan were commissioned by the ZN Bureau to start a research plan against you." ZN Bureau? Charlotte was stunned. This was the first time he had heard of such a strange organization. "Yes, ZN Bureau, the code name for AI." Xia Changhe said, "The ZN Bureau is no less mysterious than the Skull and Bone Society in America. Have you heard of the legend of the Skull and Bone Society?" Charlotte nodded. "I've heard a little. The members of the Skull and Bone Society even control the fate of America." Xia Changhe said, "Although this statement is a bit exaggerated, it is the truth. This world is controlled by a small number of elites, and all the rules are set by them. Although the nature of the ZN Bureau is different from the Skull and Bone Society, I can be sure that it is the most mysterious organization here. I have used all the resources I have, and I only know that the plan against you was initiated by the ZN Bureau, and the relevant personnel were also selected by the ZN Bureau. Once Fan Yiming and Fan Fan grasp the evolution of your body, there is no doubt that you will face an even more radical plan. At that time, not to mention everything you have now, I'm afraid you will even lose your freedom." Charlotte couldn't help but smile bitterly. Right now, he was only a guest lab rat, but at that time, he would probably be a professional lab rat. Once things developed to that point, it was no longer something he could control, and it wasn't something he could resolve by making great contributions, because he had a secret that could change the entire human race. "Son, Fan Yiming might know something about the ZN Bureau, but I don't dare to contact him. If there is a chance, you have to dig out information from him," Xia Changhe said. "I know what to do. I will start with his granddaughter." Xia Changhe glared at Charlotte. "Are you serious with her? Haven't you been deceived enough by women? You really make me lose face. Charlotte's face inexplicably turned red. Xiaochang's eyes moved to Charlotte's neck and said, I know you have the last EE capsule. Your plan is to decipher its secret before deciding whether to take it or not. I understand your decision. However, this time the situation is very special. In case Fan Fan and Fan Yiming learn your secret, you can consider taking the last EE capsule in advance. Charlotte said, I understand what you mean. I will consider it. In addition, I found a clue in the first treasure location, a clue about EE. What clue? Xiaochanghe looked at Charlotte in surprise. Charlotte moved closer to Xiaochang's ear and whispered something. Xiaochang's mouth was slightly open, and he couldn't close it. A few minutes later, Charlotte left the supermarket and returned to the restaurant. Fan Fan had already finished her lunch and was sitting at the table waiting for him. Why did you leave for so long? I didn't bring my wallet, and the boss thought you left me here. Charlotte smiled and said, If I left a beautiful woman like you here to avoid paying the bill, then I would be the biggest fool in the world. Fanfan's face quietly turned red. Which woman doesn't like men calling her beautiful? Not to mention a man like Charlotte. Chapter 619. Back at the Thunderhorse Army factory, Charlotte brought Fan Fan directly to the villa. There were 2 special forces guards standing at the entrance of the villa. Charlotte didn't say anything and walked straight in. Stop! A special forces guard stopped Fan Fan. Charlotte then said, She's from the Academy of Sciences. There's no problem. Such a sentence obviously couldn't let Fan Fan in, and Charlotte did it on purpose. However, it wasn't because he didn't want Fan Fan to enter his laboratory. He wanted to see what kind of authority Fan Fan had. Or rather, what kind of authority did the Xian Bureau give Fan Fan? Sure enough, the Special Forces guard who stopped Fan Fan said, Mr. Xia, only you can go in. She can't. Charlotte pretended to be troubled. Can't you make an exception? The Special Forces guard was expressionless. I'm sorry, Mr. Xia. No means no. At this moment, Fan Fan took out a red pass from her handbag and handed it to the Special Forces guard who stopped her. The Special Forces guard's expression changed when he saw the red pass in his hand. This change didn't escape Charlotte's eyes. His gaze also moved to the red pass. His left eye twitched slightly, and he had already seen the contents of the pass before the Special Forces guard. He saw a gilded national emblem, the handwritten words Special Access, and the name Fan Fan. Other than that, there was nothing else on the pass. The guard opened the pass and took a brief look at it. Then, he returned it to Fan Fan with both hands and said politely, Miss, you can go in now. Fan Fan put away the red pass and smiled at Charlotte. All right, that's enough. Let's go in. Charlotte nodded and then led Fan Fan into the villa. On the surface, there was no reaction, but Charlotte was still confused. Even the special pass issued by 101 innings isn't so awesome. Just a few handwritten words can get a high-level pass. Could it be that these Special Forces guards have been informed by their superiors to let people with this kind of pass? In this case, Fan Fan and Fan Yiming could enter his laboratory without his permission. Also, was this red special pass given to Fan Fan by the mysterious Xian Bureau? I didn't expect you to have a villa here. Fan Fan interrupted Charlotte's thoughts. Who lives here? Charlotte said, Only Anina used to live here. She was the chief engineer of the Thunder Horse military factory, but now she has returned to Germany, so no one lives here except for me, who occasionally stays here for one night. Can I have a room? You want a room? Charlotte looked surprised. Fan Fan said, I am your assistant. Before the X-Secret Gold Project is conquered, I have to follow you. In addition to assisting you in your research, I also have my own work to do. I will definitely work late in the future, so I want a room. Okay, you can choose any room here. Charlotte readily agreed. He couldn't avoid Fan Fan as his assistant, and he also had a plan to take her down, so he was eager for her to live here. As they chatted, Charlotte took Fan Fan to the underground laboratory below the villa. The ancient alloy and the bronze treasure book were stored in a safe, and there was also a special anti-radiation container. As long as she didn't open the safe and take out the ancient alloy, Fan Fan wouldn't be in danger. This is my laboratory. You can look around. Charlotte said. Fanfan looked around and frowned slightly. It's so simple. Can you study the ancient alloy? Charlotte's laboratory was indeed very simple. There was no advanced and complicated experimental equipment. Even if there was, it was just some simple equipment for show. He had never used it at all. He had always been following his own path in deciphering the secrets of the ancient alloy, not the path of scientific analysis and research. Although he had never used those equipment, Charlotte smiled and said, "Don't underestimate these simple equipment. They're a great help. All the research I've done before is based on them." Fanfan was obviously not interested in those simple equipment. Her eyes moved to the large and strong safe. She tentatively said, "Brother Lazy, are the ancient alloy and the bronze treasure book in there?" Charlotte said, "Yes, it's in there. I really want to see it." Charlotte said, "That won't do. Have you forgotten those researchers who went crazy or died? You're so young and beautiful. If you go crazy or die, your grandfather and your parents will be very sad. Well, I'll be very sad too." Fanfan's cheeks quietly blushed again. "You're very good at coaxing girls. There must be a lot of women who like you, right?" Xiaolei said, "You're wrong. I'm not good at coaxing women. If I were good at coaxing women, my wife wouldn't have divorced me." "I'm sorry," Fanfan said apologetically. Charlotte shrugged. "It's okay. It's all in the past." After a pause, he said, "Let me show you the room." "No, I want to stay here for a while." Fanfan walked to the safe. Charlotte didn't stop her. Without his password, she couldn't open the safe. And he didn't think she had the courage to do so. In fact, no matter how much pressure he faced this time, Charlotte could still maintain a calm state of mind. He relied on the ancient alloy. In this world, only he could touch the ancient alloy. Anyone other than him would die. Just based on this point, whoever wanted to touch him would have to consider this point first. Fanfan walked to the safe and quietly looked at it. She murmured, "It's amazing. Although I can't see it, I can still feel its existence. Do you know? I think it's a treasure, and you're the key to this treasure." Fanfan's unintentional words made Charlotte's heart sink. She compared him to the key to the treasure of the ancient alloy. Princess Yongmei called him the only one. Was this a coincidence, or was it fate? Brother Lazy, have you ever wondered why only you can touch the ancient alloy? Fanfan looked back at Charlotte. At this time, her eyes were full of wisdom with the power of insight. Charlotte pretended to be relaxed and smiled. "Of course I have thought about it. I think it's because I fixed the compass. Perhaps it has some intelligence and recognized me as a friend." "Bah, are you writing a novel?" Fanfan snorted at Charlotte's statement. "You're now an academician of the Academy of Sciences. You can't say such words from your mouth. I don't believe it's because of this reason." A woman with a high IQ was really difficult to deal with. With the same argument, Charlotte had fooled a lot of people, but not her. Charlotte was silent for a moment before saying, "Perhaps there are other reasons, but I don't know. If you know, can you tell me?" "I don't know. That's why I'm studying you," Fanfan said. Charlotte smiled. Don't worry. Let's go see the room first." After leaving the underground laboratory, Xiaolei brought Fanfan to the second floor and brought her to the room next to the one he usually stayed in. Every room in this villa was decorated according to the standard of a five-star hotel. It was luxurious and well-equipped. "How is it? Do you like it?" Charlotte asked. "I like it. It's very comfortable here. Let's start," Fanfan said. "What should we start?" Charlotte looked at Fanfan in surprise. Fanfan's expression suddenly became a bit embarrassed. Her words became hesitant. "Brother Lazy, I'll trouble you to take off your clothes." "Ah." Charlotte was shocked. He suspected that he heard wrong. "I want to start my work now." Now? There's no equipment here. What can you study?" Charlotte said. "Your body." Fanfan gathered her courage. "I want to see your body and take pictures of you. This is the first step of my work. I don't need any equipment. I have a phone, and it can take pictures. In addition, whether you're willing or not, I want to touch your body and do a physical examination." "Charlotte, take it off, Fanfan urged. No matter the occasion, no matter the time, the first thing that came to her mind was her work. Taking off his clothes and letting a woman observe take pictures, and even touch his body. Forget about doing it. Even thinking about it made Charlotte feel embarrassed. But he had to cooperate with Fanfan's work. This was the most basic examination. If he played tricks and refused, it would easily arouse the suspicion of the Zen Bureau, which was not wise. If he wanted to cheat, he had to cheat at the most critical moment. You can think of me as a doctor. No need to be embarrassed. Although she said it was not awkward, Fanfan's face was already very red. Charlotte didn't say anything, but he responded with his actions. He quickly took off his shirt and pants, then his shoes and socks. Finally, he stood in front of Fanfan with only a pair of briefs. Take that off too. Fanfan pointed at the little bit of fabric on Charlotte's body. One day I'll strip you naked too. Charlotte secretly, he said in his heart. Then he grabbed the elastic band of the fabric and pulled it down. At that moment, it was like a tiger coming out of its cage. Fanfan seemed to have been triggered. She subconsciously closed her eyes and was so nervous that her eyelashes were trembling. However, she quickly recovered. She opened her eyes and stared straight at Charlotte's body. Charlotte's left eye twitched slightly. In an instant, all the fabric on Fanfan's body disappeared. He couldn't suffer this kind of loss. Fanfan looked at his body, and he also had to look at it. It was only fair that both of them had no clothes. Although Fanfan didn't know this. Fanfan circled around Charlotte 3 times before returning to Charlotte. She exclaimed, "I have seen a lot of people's bodies, but I have never seen a body like yours. Your body is very well proportioned. It's unimaginably well proportioned. Your muscle lines are beautiful, and at the same time, full of strength. Have you seen the Roman discus thrower? His body is considered to be the most perfect body, but compared to yours, there is still a gap. Have you seen a lot of men's bodies?" Charlotte asked casually. Only when he spoke did he not feel so embarrassed. "Yes, when I was in school, I saw a lot of volunteer models. Later, when I worked, I also saw some models, but they were paid." Fanfan said, "Do you blush when you look at their bodies?" "I won't blush. Why should I blush?" "Then why are you blushing now?" Fanfan. Chapter 620. Fanfan's goal was to study him, and his goal was to destroy Fanfan's research. Fanfan couldn't wait to start her work, so he had to enter the state of interfering with her in time. Although this was only a probing interference, it had its own significance. This would be an interesting battle. Charlotte would break through her defense bit by bit, and finally completely occupy her position. Click, 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 click. The simulated electronic flash on the mobile phone kept flashing, and Charlotte's body appeared on Fanfan's mobile phone screen. Front, back, top, bottom, all parts of his body were photographed without any concealment. Fanfan's face also became redder and redder. After taking the most important parts of Charlotte's body, there was no place on her face that wasn't red. "What's the use of taking these photos?" Charlotte asked. "I will use these photos to create a file and then use software to make a 3-dimensional image. Of course, later on, I will add photos of your organs, but there is no equipment here, so I can't do it. I can only wait for next time." Fanfan said as she put away her mobile phone. Charlotte said with a smile, "You have to protect these photos. Don't leak them. You can look at them alone, but don't let others see them. I am doing this for work. I won't look at your photos for no reason." Fanfan looked a little nervous, and then she said, "I'm going to touch your body now. Don't be nervous." "I'm not nervous at all, but you look very nervous. What are you nervous about?" "I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous." Fanfan was not only a little nervous, but also a little flustered. Charlotte opened his arms, looking very natural. "I'm ready. You can touch anywhere you want." Don't say that. I don't want to talk to you anymore." Fanfan really shut her mouth. She circled around to Charlotte's back. Starting from the back of his head, she used her hands to slowly move downwards. Her fingers slid over his neck, shoulders, back, waist, hips when she touched Charlotte's buttocks. The rouge on Fanfan's face was so thick that it couldn't melt. She was a woman with a special physique. Her body would have a very, very sensitive reaction after being touched, so Charlotte had only carried her for a short distance, and she had already reached a very pleasant state. What she was doing now was like a double-edged sword. When she touched Charlotte's body was also touching her in disguise. With her special physique, it was impossible for her not to be excited. Whenever she was excited, that reaction would quietly grow and bring her flying in that direction. Fan, what's wrong with my butt? It was Charlotte's voice. No problem. Fan was startled by Charlotte. Then why are your hands still on my butt? Are you looking for something? I don't want to talk to you. Fan shut her mouth in a huff. Her hands also left Charlotte's buttocks and began to touch his legs. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Charlotte's mouth. Fan was an extremely intelligent woman. She wasn't easy to fool, but she also had a fatal weakness, and that was her special physique. Now that he thought about it, this should be Fan's secret. If he hadn't carried her while walking in Yongla's shop, and she had such a pleasant reaction, he wouldn't have known this secret. Fan, your body is very special. Does your grandfather know about this? Charlotte probed. Why are you asking me this? Fan's hands stopped on Charlotte's ankle. Charlotte said, I'm just asking. I'm just concerned about you. How could I tell my grandfather about such an embarrassing thing? You're the first person to know this secret. Fan remembered what happened at Yongla's shop. She was inexplicably raised by him. Every time she thought about this, she felt very embarrassed. So Fan Yiming doesn't know. That's good. The smile on the corner of Charlotte's mouth became more obvious. If Fan Yiming didn't know, then the people from the Xian Bureau definitely didn't know. Otherwise, the Xian Bureau and Fan Yiming definitely wouldn't have sent Fan to be responsible for such an important task. Fan went around to Charlotte's front. Her eyes moved to Charlotte's something. Suddenly, she screamed and covered her eyes with her hands. At that moment, she felt like she was bitten by a snake. However, she quickly recovered. She stared at Charlotte angrily and angrily said, You! How could you do this? Charlotte had an innocent expression. I took off my clothes according to your instructions. Just now, you touched my body all over and pinched here and there. I'm a normal man. Is it strange for me to have such a reaction? Fan looked at that hideous place and was speechless. However, she couldn't find any words to refute Charlotte. Fan, didn't you say that you've seen a lot of men's bodies? Don't they have such a reaction? Charlotte continued to interfere with Fan's work. Those mannequins aren't as bad as you. Okay, I won't talk to you anymore. Fan entered her work mode again. Her pair of soft hands started from Charlotte's head and went all the way down. She touched here and there and pinched there. What can you find by checking like this? Charlotte began to speak again. I'm checking the elasticity of your skin and the reaction of your muscles. Fan had said more than once that she wouldn't talk to Charlotte, but she still couldn't help but talk to Charlotte. Then what did you find? You're a big pervert. Charlotte was speechless. Fan's hand moved to Charlotte's lower abdomen. His lower abdomen was a very strange place. Not only did it have 8 hard abdominal muscles, but it also had white and tender skin. There were many men with 8 abdominal muscles, but there were no abdominal muscles like Charlotte's. Charlotte's 8 abdominal muscles were like cheese. They were very delicious. They were the abdominal muscles of an aristocrat. As her fingers slid across the hard and tender abdominal muscles, Fan's fingers trembled slightly. On the front of Charlotte, her sensitivity was obviously stronger. You want to check there, right? Charlotte was actually very nervous. His nerves were actually very sensitive because of what Fan was doing. He needed a lot of effort to control the impulse in his body. If Fan's invasion of him continued or became even more intense, he might not be able to control himself and do something to her. Don't let your imagination run wild. Fan's voice trembled slightly. This is work. It's not what you think. I have to complete my inspection. I can't miss any place. You really want to. Before Charlotte could finish his words, his mouth became silent. His brows were also wrinkled and couldn't be relaxed. Don't let your imagination run wild. Fan nervously warned Charlotte while carrying out her inspection work. Charlotte bit his lips with his teeth and used that little bit of pain to suppress the impulse in his body. He secretly said in his heart, Just you wait, I'll let you have a taste of this. And what is this? Fan seemed to have discovered something. She bent down and buried her head. She moved closer to that area and looked very carefully. The hot air that came out of her mouth and nose swept over the sensitive area. At this moment, Charlotte couldn't help but want to bang his head against the wall. Charlotte. Suddenly, Longbing's voice came from outside the villa. Charlotte and Fanfan were both nervous at the same time. In their panic, there was actually an awkward and intimate contact. You. Fanfan covered her face. She was extremely embarrassed, but she couldn't say anything to scold Charlotte. She was the one who moved over. How could she blame Charlotte? Hurry up, Charlotte urged. Longbing also had the authority to come in. If she suddenly came in and saw this scene, who knew what she would think? I'm fine. Fanfan also seemed to be afraid of being seen. After all, this was a room and not a laboratory. It was very easy for people to misunderstand. Hearing that she was fine, Charlotte let out a sigh of relief. He hastily put on his clothes. Then, he didn't care about Fanfan and strode out the door. Once Charlotte left the villa, Longbing said, "Let's go for a walk in the mountains." Charlotte was stunned. Go for a walk in the mountains? Don't ask. Let's go. Longbing didn't care whether Charlotte agreed or not. She strode towards the back door of the villa. Charlotte felt strange. She came all the way here just to go for a walk in the mountains with him? This wasn't Longbing's style. She must have something to talk to him about. Thinking like this, Charlotte also followed Longbing to the back door. Perhaps it was because the impulse in his body hadn't disappeared. His eyes uncontrollably stayed on Longbing's sexy butt. His eyes were full of excitement and desire. That Fanfan from the Academy of Science is also here? Longbing casually asked. Charlotte said, "Yes, she wants to live here." She wants to live here? Longbing turned around and looked at Charlotte. Charlotte smiled bitterly. I also have no choice. I was just about to tell you that I've encountered trouble. What trouble? This time, it's not a good thing for me to join the Academy of Science. Fan Yiming and Fanfan actually came for me. What's going on? Charlotte thought for a moment before saying, I'm the only person who can come into contact with the ancient alloy. Fan Yiming and Fanfan regard me as the key to unlocking the secret of the ancient alloy. They are here to study me. Longbing suddenly frowned. How can they do this to you? Too much. Whose idea is this? Have you heard of the ZN Bureau? Longbing's expression suddenly changed. She wanted to say something, but stopped. You haven't heard of it? No, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it or come into contact with anyone from that agency. Charlotte was a little disappointed. Even a person like Longbing had never come into contact with people from the ZN Bureau. One could imagine how mysterious the ZN Bureau was. Longbing said, You don't have to worry. I'll go back and talk to Bosher about this. They can't do this to you. If my influence isn't enough, I'll ask Tang Yuyin to help you. She has the Tang sect behind her, so her influence is much greater than mine. Moreover, she will definitely be willing to help you. Charlotte shook his head. No need. It's useless even if Bosher intercedes on this matter. In fact, it's nothing. I can handle it. You don't have to worry about it. By the way, you didn't ask me to take a walk with you, did you? What's the matter? Tell me. Longbing said, Let's go into the mountain first. Chapter 6:21. The corner of Longbing's mouth suddenly revealed a smile. No wonder so many women like you. You are a man who values friendship and righteousness. Shintu Tianyin betrayed you, yet you are still able to understand her and even bear the blame for her. Liang Xiao also betrayed you, but you are still willing to help her. I think it's a blessing for them to get to know you. I don't know, it depends. Seeing her smile, Charlotte breathed a sigh of relief. He asked softly, You said it's their blessing to meet me. What about you? Her patriotism was really above everything else. Stealing a heart. Charlotte looked at him speechlessly. What are you talking about? She is from the Academy of Sciences. She is the granddaughter of Fan Yiming, the president of the Academy of Sciences. Her name is Fanfan. Oh, now you're chasing after high-end girls? Qin Xiang raised her thumb and middle finger. When you do it with her, will she call out some formula or theorem? I'm sorry, Bing, Charlotte didn't know how to explain. He actually had his own difficulties. After all, Liang Xiao was a senior member of the CIB, and she was in a relationship with him. He couldn't just casually say it without waiting for the right opportunity. If he did that, not only would he not be able to help Liang Xiao, but he would also be in a passive position. She is not an ordinary woman. Money and vanity are not attractive to women like her. It won't be easy to conquer her heart. Charlotte, I can't care about Gu Qian for now. What else did Liang Xiao say? I won't let that happen either. Xiao Lei had a smile on his face, but his heart was filled with bitterness. Are you really going to chase after her? Do you still need to go through so much trouble to chase after girls? Just take her to a hotel. The forest in early summer was not quiet. Some birds were chirping in the treetops. It was as if they were conducting an election. They needed a bird with both virtue and talent to lead their flock. A gust of wind blew past, shaking the branches. The birds were frightened and flapped their wings to fly away. Charlotte was not surprised by her answer. After all, she was the most patriotic person he had ever met. She dedicated her youth, her everything to this country. What she believed in and defended were the interests of this country. It would be very unfair for her to give up or even betray these. You can't tell anyone about this. Charlotte smiled. I'm just asking casually and making a hypothesis. If that really happens, tell me, whose side are you on? How is it? I just want to see how you do it. That's why I'm here. I'll listen to you. You decide. But she lost to you. Okay, don't worry. Qin Xiang's hand fell on Charlotte's shoulder. I can help you, but I have a condition. What are you going to do? Okay, I'll help you. I really have nothing to do these days. Tell me, what do you want me to steal for you? Okay, I'll listen to you. You should also think about this. Even if the ZN Bureau gave Fan Yiming and Fan instructions to study you, it's for the X-Secret Gold Project and for the interests of this country. It's not targeting you personally, Long Bing said. Charlotte and Long Bing became the only humans in this forest. Their conversation here would not be heard by others. This seemed to be the reason why Long Bing insisted on talking about this after entering the mountain. Long Bing looked up at Charlotte with suspicion and confusion in her eyes. Why do you ask me this? Long Bing stopped on a soft patch of grass in the forest and looked at Charlotte. Liang Xiao contacted me. Long Bing said, she said she is no longer the Asia director of the CIB, and Gu Qian replaced her. This operation against Shinta Tianyin was directed by Gu Qian. She did this to prove her strength to the CIB's senior management. Gu Qian used the resources left behind by the Gu family. As you can see, although she is not here, she can still stir up trouble. It's because she came at the right time. A colleague who likes to speculate in stock said that the stock of the Wanxiang Group has risen, but he sold all the stock of the Wanxiang Group on the day of Shinta Tianyin's accident. Charlotte bit the bullet and said, whether it's official or personal, I support her. My opinion is to help her. Charlotte smiled bitterly. Okay, she actually met with me before. She told me that she's going to defect from the CIB. She asked me to talk to you about it and help her build a bridge. I have been waiting for a suitable opportunity to talk to you about this. But before I could say anything, something happened to Shinta Tianyin. You could talk to Boss Shi about Liang Xiao. Don't talk about Fan Yiming and Fan. I will find a way to solve it myself. Charlotte said, I will talk to Boss Shi about Liang Xiao. Are you sure you don't want me to talk to him about Fan Yiming and Fan? Long Bing lay in Charlotte's arms. She looked very comfortable and peaceful. Her voice was also soft and seductive. The grass was very soft and could bear the fiercest love. Probably. She used to be a senior member of the CIB. The things she knows are very valuable to us. Just based on this, Boss Shi will be moved. I am your woman. What can you tell me? If you are in trouble, you should let me share it with you. Long Bing's eyes showed a trace of anger. It was a simple sentence, but it gave Xia Lei a fright. He froze for a moment before saying, when did this happen? I saw you bring back a girl. Qin Xiang went straight to the point. You arranged for her to stay in the villa. Even I can't enter that place. Anina went back to Germany. Don't tell me you found someone to replace her. If that is the case, you're really too bad. Go to hell. If you have nothing better to do, I want to ask you for a favor. Charlotte said, now, if she contacts you, what do you plan to do? Go. I will go to your house now. Longbing thought about it seriously. Then she shook her head. I don't know. I will not allow this to happen. What did she tell you? Charlotte asked. Charlotte said, her first condition is understandable, but the second condition, can Boss sure satisfy her? What do you think? Longbing's eyes seemed to be able to see through Charlotte's heart. Longbing suddenly got into Charlotte's arms and said emotionally, I am not as stupid as them. If I had to face their choice, I would choose you. You are mine, and you will be mine in the future. Longbing said, an hour ago, you were the first person to know about it. She looked straight at Charlotte. Don't you have anything to say to me? In fact, when I saw your master Liang Zhengshan at the wedding of you and Tianyin, I suspected that Liang Xiao had some plans. Otherwise, she would not have let her father return to China. My people have been keeping an eye on Liang Zhengshan, but Liang Xiao did not appear. Tianyin started the expansion plan of the Thunder Horse Arms factory when he went to Germany. These plans had been in progress, and he had to deal with some things personally. In addition, he had promised Borin that he would turn Rainmetal's technology into a real product, so he needed to do it personally. Charlotte suddenly turned over and pressed her under him. Longbing moaned, and she realized what Charlotte was talking about. Are you still going to my house tonight? Charlotte's head ached, and his scalp was numb. If Liang Xiao wanted to come back and serve the country, he would definitely support her. However, once she came back, and if Borin met her conditions, then he and the 3 female section chiefs of 101 innings would be entangled. Moreover, Longbing asked him to make the decision on this matter. If he did not help Liang Xiao, his conscience would not be able to live with it. And if he helped, would Longbing think that he and Liang Xiao still had feelings for each other? Charlotte rolled his eyes at Qin Xiang. I'm not joking with you. Fan will be living here for a while. Help me keep an eye on her, see who she contacts, what she does, and so on. In addition, help me keep an eye on what she likes and dislikes. These are very important to me. No, why did you mention her? Let's not talk about these unpleasant things. By the way, has Tianyin contacted you? The passion subsided, and the two gradually quieted down. Such moving words, and her soft and hot body, all her beauty was in front of his eyes and also in his arms. The flame that was ignited by Fan burned wildly again, and it was even more intense. Charlotte could no longer suppress the impulse. He kissed Longbing's lips and then couldn't wait to press her down on the grass. She asked me to talk to Mr. Sher. She wants to join 101 innings. She has some conditions for me to convey to Mr. Sher. First of all, she wants immunity. There can't be any prosecution or conviction against her here. Second, she wants the same position as me and Tang Yuyan. If these 2 conditions are met, she will return to China and join 101 innings. This was actually not an if, but something that would eventually happen. The ancient alloy and AE password represented national interests, and it was an extraordinary interest, but this interest was bound to change Charlotte's life or even destroy him. At that time, when the conflict reached a critical point and she needed to make a decision, what would she choose? Would she choose to defend the interests of the country or choose him? After sending Longbing away, Charlotte didn't go to the villa to find Fan. He went to the office alone. Charlotte was like a beast, but Longbing was like a collar around his neck. No matter how Charlotte ran and crashed, he couldn't escape her imprisonment. When you do it with her, how about taking a video of me secretly? Charlotte smiled bitterly. Me? I may not be that important to her. The Wanxiang group is the most important to her. Get lost. After dealing with a few business matters, Qin Xiang appeared in Charlotte's office. Charlotte kissed her forehead and said softly, Bing, if one day I have a conflict with the interests of the country, which side will you stand on? What? Qin Xiang looked at Charlotte with a strange look. Are you sick? If I act like this, do you want me to steal a woman's heart or a man's heart? I think you might as well steal my heart. It was really troublesome. Charlotte sighed and said, Tianyin is very good at these operations. The stock price itself was shorted by her. I estimate that her current shareholding ratio is close to 70%. When the market value of the Wanxiang Group recovers, her net worth will rise again. She won. Chapter 622. Under Charlotte's operation, the Thunder Horse Army factory entered a state of comprehensive upgrade. New land, new factory area, new workshops, and supporting facilities directly entered the construction stage. On the other hand, the required equipment also entered the procurement period. The purchasers of the Thunder Horse Army factory flew to Russia and Ukraine for inspection, placing orders, and adding bricks and tiles to the production line for artillery and tanks. The equipment purchased from Russia and Ukraine was obviously not comparable to the equipment of Rheinmetall, but after these equipment were purchased, Charlotte would upgrade them. The equipment upgraded by him was not something that Rheinmetall's equipment could compare to. This was his plan to build the production line for artillery, tanks, and defense systems as quickly as possible. In Charlotte's plan, the most important part was naturally a more powerful integrated intelligent machine tool. He would once again improve the performance of the new machine tool on the basis of the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool. The new machine tool would double the weight and size of the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool, and the overall performance will be twice that of the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool. Charlotte named it Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool Second Generation. It played a role similar to the heart of the new production system. As soon as the upgrade plan of the Thunder Horse Army factory was launched, Charlotte began to build the second generation of the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool. Charlotte plunged into work, and Fan did not force him to cooperate with her to do any research. She did not even ask him to go to the Academy of Science. Charlotte was not surprised by such a reaction. The Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool was already the most advanced intelligent machine tool in the world, and what he was doing was to build the second generation of the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool, which was more advanced and more powerful. This was a treasure that couldn't be bought with money. Even if the people of the ZN Bureau wanted to settle their matter as soon as possible, the military would probably intervene. Therefore, in the face of the comprehensive upgrade of the Thunder Horse Army factory and the second generation of the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool, everything else had to give way. However, Charlotte knew that this was just a delay. He did not get out of trouble. Once the Thunder Horse Army factory completed the comprehensive upgrade and the second generation of the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool was born, his trouble would return to him. During this time, Charlotte took root in a new workshop every day to build the second generation of Lei Long's smart machine tool. Qin Xiang also appeared in this new workshop every day to bring him some information. She seems to be afraid of spicy food. Even if there is a piece of chili in the dish, she will pick it out. In the evening, before Charlotte finished his work, Qin Xiang came to the new workshop of the second generation smart machine tool, breeding Charlotte. Charlotte wiped the sweat on his face with a towel and looked at Qin Xiang with a gloomy expression. Yesterday, she said that she had a stomach problem and went to the bathroom 6 times. Today, she said that she's afraid of spicy food. Bro, is that all you're capable of? Qin Xiang rolled her eyes at Charlotte. You're in the factory, and so is she. What kind of information can I get in such a big place? If you can do it, then go ahead. I'll help you make the machine. Charlotte was speechless. Qin Xiang suddenly giggled. Forget it. I won't keep you in suspense. I've been monitoring her for a week. Today, I finally had the chance to put a bug on her body. Before I came here, she called her grandfather Fan Yiming. She described some things about you and her work to Fan Yiming. What did she describe about you? She said that your body is the most perfect body she has ever seen. Did you show her your body? Qin Xiang's eyes glanced at Charlotte's body. Charlotte was a little embarrassed. Stop fooling around. Let's get down to business. Well, in addition to your body, there are also some things about your habits. For example, what kind of food you like to eat, what kind of things you're sensitive to, etc. I can see that she has been observing you, and she's observing you very carefully. How did she describe her work to Fan Yiming? Qin Xiang said, this part is very simple. She said that she has created a file and some 3D images. I don't know much about it. In addition, she mentioned that she needs equipment today and urged Fan Yiming to send it to her. Charlotte's heart sank. Fan wanted equipment from Fan Yiming. Obviously, she wanted to set up her laboratory here. If that was the case, even if he was carrying out the comprehensive upgrade of the Thunder Horse Army factory, he could still carry out her research. What will come will come. He couldn't avoid it. Anything else? Yes. Qin Xiang smiled. You said that you want to take her down, but after my observation, I found that it's very difficult. Charlotte frowned slightly. What did you find? I found that no matter if it's a man or a woman, no matter who accidentally touched her, she would be very disgusted and have a very strong reaction. Just this afternoon, Ryu Youngnam accidentally touched her in the stairwell. As a result, she glared at him and almost got angry at him. Then, I deliberately touched her on behalf of a woman. She also almost got angry at me. You can't represent a woman, okay? Charlotte smiled. Humph. I'm ignoring you. Qin Xiang seemed to be angry and turned to leave. Charlotte was in a daze alone in the new workshop. He was thinking about what Qin Xiang said about Fan Fan. Ryu Youngnam can be considered a handsome man. He is also the type that women like. No matter what woman he accidentally touched, that woman would not be disgusted by him, right? But Fan Fan is disgusted by him. Is it really that Qin Xiang is like that no matter who touches her, she will be disgusted? But not only did I touch her, I also hugged her. Not only did she not feel disgusted, but she also had that kind of exaggerated reaction. Am I an exception? She does not dislike me touching her? Or is it because of some other reason? Even God would find it hard to give an answer to this kind of thing. His super brain can calculate deep and complex problems, but it can't solve this simple problem. Charlotte stayed in the new workshop for a while and then left. He walked around the old factory area and was about to walk to the villa when Lu Sheng ran over from the direction of the gate. Chairman Xia, Lu Sheng called from afar. Please wait. Xiaolei stopped in his tracks. When he looked at Lu Sheng, he saw a container truck parked outside the gate. Chairman Xia, there's a car outside the gate. It said it's to deliver something to Miss Fan. I asked him what it is, and he said it's research equipment. Lu Sheng said, I don't understand the situation, so I came to ask you. Qin Xiang just said that Fan Fan wanted the equipment from Fan Yiming. The equipment will be here soon. The equipment was probably installed in the container car long ago. The container car might even be parked near the town, ready to come at any time. Let the car in. Charlotte said, there's one more thing. Lu Sheng looked around and then lowered his voice. Don't you know? What? Xiao is back. Lu Sheng said. Charlotte was stunned for a moment. He didn't think that Lu Sheng would say something like this. He knew that Liang Xiao was coming back a week ago. Long Bing told him personally, but he didn't know the specific date. Now, Lu Sheng actually told him that Liang Xiao was back, but he didn't know. This kind of situation really surprised him. She just called me and asked me to go to Haizhu to see Master. Lu Sheng said, so I want to take a week off to go back to Haizhu. Master is back, but I haven't seen him yet. I feel bad. Charlotte said, okay, go. Spend more time with Master. If a week isn't enough, you can extend your leave. How can I do that? If I say it's okay, then it's okay. Charlotte said, also, when you go back to Haizhu this time, help me bring some gifts back to Master and send my regards to the old man. Lu Sheng smiled and said, no problem. I'll pack up tonight and go back to Haizhu early tomorrow morning. Go. Lu Sheng didn't leave. He tentatively said, don't you have anything to say to Xiao? She asked me about you on the phone, and I told her that you're fine. Well, I also told her that you and Shinta Tianyin divorced. Forget it. I'll tell her when I see her, Charlotte said. Liang Xiao was back. It must be that Born agreed to her conditions. She would be a member of 101 innings in the future, and they would meet a lot. Then I'll go. Lu Sheng left. Ring, ring. Ring, ring, ring. As soon as Lu Sheng left, Charlotte's cell phone rang. Charlotte took out his cell phone and glanced at it. It was the number Liang Xiao used in China before, and he was very familiar with it. He couldn't help but smile. He was just wondering why Liang Xiao didn't contact him when she came back, and now she called. Charlotte slid the answer button. His lips moved, but he didn't say anything. I'm back. Liang Xiao's voice came from the phone. The familiar voice, like the tone of a family member, suddenly brought Charlotte's mind back to the time when he loved her. Back. Charlotte pursed his lips. It's good that you're back. Cherish this opportunity and don't do anything wrong again. I missed it once. I lost the most important person in my life. I won't make the same mistake again, Liang Xiao said. Charlotte knew what she was talking about. Then, when will you report to 101 innings? Tomorrow, Liang Xiao said. I just talked to Sherborne today. I'll report to 101 innings tomorrow. Are you coming too? Charlotte thought for a moment. I'll come. Let's meet at 101 innings tomorrow. Well, don't you have anything to say to me? Charlotte's lips moved. Brother Lazy? Fan suddenly ran over. Can you ask the workers to help me unload the goods? Fan's voice was very loud, and Liang Xiao heard it through the phone. Who? Liang Xiao's tone was full of probing. Fan, Charlotte said. She's from the Academy of Science. Well, that's it. See you tomorrow. Well, I want to talk to you tomorrow. Charlotte hung up the phone. In his line of sight, Fan was running towards him. Under the white cotton t-shirt, two big white rabbits were bouncing up and down, left and right. One was more lively and cute than the other. A pair of denim shorts tightly wrapped around her full moon, and a pair of white legs were exposed to the air. She was like a vivid painting, exuding a youthful and sexy aura everywhere. Fan stopped in front of Charlotte. The two big white rabbits on her chest swayed for a moment, and then calmed down. She had a bright smile on her face. Brother Lazy, quickly call the workers. I've already obtained permission. The workers can move my equipment to the villa. She actually obtained such permission. Charlotte smiled. Well, I'll call the workers right away. As he spoke, he suddenly waved his hand and patted Fan's waist. What are you doing? Fan suddenly became nervous. Her face turned red, and there was a hint of embarrassment in her eyes. Charlotte pretended to blow his hand. Nothing. It's just a mosquito. I'm just helping you to kill the mosquito. Fan, she was afraid of contact with people. It was a psychological barrier. Charlotte wanted to destroy this barrier, bit by bit. Chapter 6:23. The workers moved Fan's equipment into a room, turning the room into a laboratory. Looking at the equipment that filled the room, Charlotte couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. My grandfather will come back in a few days to take a look. At that time, he will decide whether or not to move here. Fan said. Xiao Lei furrowed his eyebrows. One Fan was enough to give him a headache. If Fan Yiming were to appear, it would be even more troublesome. What's wrong, Brother Lazy? You don't like my grandfather coming here? Fan saw the change in Charlotte's expression. Charlotte revealed a smile. Why would I? We are all here for the X-Secret Gold Project. Elder Fan coming here is a good thing for our work. If you can think like that, then that's good. Fan's face also revealed a beautiful smile. Brother Lazy, the equipment is here. I can start my work now. Can I trouble you to take off your clothes? Charlotte said in surprise. Didn't I already take off my clothes last time? Why do you want to take off my clothes again? Last time, I didn't have any equipment. I only took a simple photo and checked. Now that the equipment is here, I have to do it again. Hurry up and take it off. Charlotte, take it off. Don't let your imagination run wild. Fan specifically warned. What kind of imagination? Charlotte asked, even though he already knew the answer. That kind of bad thing. Fan's face turned red. So you think that kind of thing is bad? Coming from a scientist like you, it's wrong. Charlotte said in a serious tone. Don't humans rely on that kind of thing to reproduce? If it wasn't for that kind of thing, humans would have already gone extinct. Let's not talk about this, okay? I just want you to take off your clothes. Fan couldn't argue with Charlotte. Charlotte pulled away and walked out. I don't have time today. Maybe another day. You. Fan was stunned on the spot. She didn't expect Charlotte to reject her like this. Charlotte secretly said in his heart, you can do whatever you want. Your grandfather can come and go as he pleases. Who asked for my opinion? Give me the key to the treasure. I'm a F***king human, not a key. Wait. Fan suddenly plucked up her courage and stopped Charlotte. Charlotte looked back at her. Is there anything else? What do I have to do for you to cooperate with me? Fan bit her lip. If you want me to strip naked, I'll strip naked. What kind of person do you think I am? If you want me to take off my clothes and cooperate with you, that's fine, but you also take off your clothes. We'll both take off our clothes, Charlotte said. You. Fan was so angry that she couldn't speak. She never thought that Charlotte would put forward such a condition. You're not willing? Charlotte smiled. Then why do you think I'm willing to strip naked in front of you? Is my body worthless, or is my dignity worthless in front of you? Fan couldn't find the words to refute. That's it. We'll talk about it when I'm in the mood. Charlotte walked out of the door and added, I'm going to the underground laboratory. I'm going to touch the ancient alloy, so don't follow me. It's dangerous. Fan bit her lip and couldn't say a word. Charlotte's condition was indeed excessive, but what was even more excessive was that it was intentional. He wanted to use this method to send a message to the ZN Bureau. I'm not an object that you can do whatever you want. This message was also for Fan and Fan Yiming. He wanted to let Fan and Fan Yiming know that no one can force him to do what he doesn't want to do. This was necessary. If he blindly gave in, the other party would take his cooperation for granted. He didn't directly refuse Fan's request, nor did he directly refuse Fan Yiming's intervention, but he could delay it. The comprehensive upgrade of the Thunder Horse Army Factory and the X-Secret Gold Project could all be his excuses. Once the other party lost patience, they would surface, and he would see what kind of person was plotting against him. Of course, the more important purpose was to win over Fan and rely on her to get away with it. During this period of time, he had a certain understanding of Fan. This woman wasn't a woman that could be conquered with money and vanity. It was even difficult to conquer her with appearance. Her mind was only filled with her work. Coupled with her special physique, she had an instinctive fear and rejection of men. To conquer such a woman, he had to use his brain and some tricks. Men and women had a very strange mentality. For men, the women they got weren't worth much, and few people would cherish them. For women, it was hard for a man who meekly accommodated them and spoiled them to throw a tantrum to move their hearts. They liked a man with personality, a man who could bring them excitement, or even a man who could make them cry. In short, men liked women who were hard to conquer. The harder it was to conquer, the more they wanted to conquer. For women, the more a man didn't take them seriously, the more they wanted to capture the man's heart and make him kneel under their skirt. After understanding Fan's personality, Charlotte also started his conquest plan. He wasn't in a hurry at all. In the underground laboratory, Charlotte took out the ancient alloy and the bronze book and placed them on the workbench. There was also a laptop. Opening the bronze treasure book, the first thing that came into view were many strange words. Some looked like a bunch of grass, some looked like a tadpole, and some looked like a human head. It had a nose, eyes, and even the lines of a mouth. Xiaolei had seen through the bronze treasure book before, so he knew that every word on the bronze treasure book had a syllable. The entire bronze treasure book was like a bronze tape or a bronze CD. Unfortunately, other than the syllables he could hear from the words on the bronze book, he didn't find anything else. But today was different. Charlotte opened the laptop. Under his control, a PDF file quickly appeared on the laptop's monitor. There were tiles on the document, and each tile had a pattern on it. These patterns were all different. Some were Chinese characters, some were people, and some were lines. These patterns gathered into a circular pattern, looking very messy. However, the clue that Charlotte found in the first treasure location was hidden in these messy patterns. Charlotte's gaze swept over the circular pattern on the PDF file. The patterns on the tiles were like dust being sucked away by a vacuum cleaner rushing into his brain. His gaze then shifted to the bronze treasure book. The mysterious words on the bronze treasure book also surged into his mind. There were 10,000 mysterious words on the bronze book. The first treasure location had 999 tiles, so the total number was 10,999. This number was meaningless, but when they were combined, the result was different. In Charlotte's brain, the mysterious words on the bronze book and the pattern on the tiles kept combining and joining together. The head-shaped words moved on top of the human-shaped pattern. The man was a man, and the woman was a woman. The line-shaped words moved on top of the line pattern, combining into a complete shape. The tadpole-shaped words and tadpole-shaped words combined to form a new pattern. This was not a random combination of imagination, but a pattern that could be followed. This was the clue that Charlotte found in the first treasure location. The patterns on the tiles and the mysterious words on the bronze book had a strange degree of compatibility. A very simple example was that the head of the figure on the tiles was blurry, lacking some lines. However, if one of the head-shaped words on the bronze book were placed on it, it would form a complete figure, and it would be very clear. Another example was the broken line pattern on the tiles. If one of the lines from the bronze book was placed on it, it would form a complete line pattern. Also, the Chinese characters on the tiles were almost all broken and hard to recognize. However, if one placed some lines from the bronze book on it, one would be able to form a complete Chinese character. After the patterns were combined, a simulation appeared in Charlotte's brain. It showed a larger circular pattern, looking like a compass with runes engraved on it. The center of this compass was a Chinese character, a character that he could recognize. These Chinese characters were connected to the pattern and formed a complete text. You are the only one who can turn it. That was all. But this was already a very obvious hint. Charlotte's consciousness suddenly moved. That mysterious power suddenly awakened, and the compass in his brain began to spin rapidly. Strangely, a voice suddenly appeared in his consciousness. He was not unfamiliar with this voice, because it was the syllable hidden in the words of the bronze book. Before, he could not understand it all, but this time, he actually understood it. The energy hidden in his brain was like the needle on the record player, and his brain was like the phonograph that spun the disc. You can read my voice, because you are the only one. I left my voice in this bronze book. I want to tell you my story. I once obtained a box, and because of it, I obtained a very powerful ability. My life is very long, longer than you can imagine. I built my own kingdom, and even I don't know how big it is. I conquered many women, and I can't even remember their names. My grandsons died of old age in front of me, and even my grandsons' grandsons died before me. My long life became my pain, and my people called me the only one. I think that means God, but I know that I'm not God. Wine, women, and vast lands could no longer satisfy my desires, and I began to want to unlock the secret of the box. So I left my kingdom. I climbed over the highest mountains in the world and crossed the widest seas. I don't know how many places I have traveled, or if there are any places in this world that I have not been to. My kingdom was destroyed, but I did not care. Then the earth began to snow endlessly. I witnessed the extinction of all things, and I became the only one. You cannot understand this kind of loneliness. I let go of everything in order to unlock the secret of the box, but in the end, I found nothing. I despaired, and I wanted to end my life where the sun rose. I came to the east, the place closest to the sun, and this is the place I wanted to return to. I left you this bronze book, but when I was about to end my life, the voice stopped here. For the next half an hour, Charlotte stood in place without moving. He was like a stone statue that had crossed the world of ice. Chapter 6:24. The light of dawn dispelled the darkness, but it could not dispel the fog in Charlotte's heart. Charlotte spent the whole night imagining the identity of that me and the era that me lived in. The identity of that me could not be guessed, but according to his description, the era he lived in should be before the Ice Age, and his story should have ended during the Ice Age. This was something that Xia Lei could not believe. In the history of the Earth, there were endless ice ages. The earliest Huron Ice Age was 1 billion years ago, followed by the Ice Age 800 to 600 million years ago, the Ordovician period 400 million years ago, the Carboniferous period 300 million years ago, and the most recent Fourth Ice Age. And even the most recent Fourth Ice Age was 58 million years ago. Assuming that me was a person before the Fourth Ice Age, then the era he lived in was 58 million years ago. It was an era of species eruption, with the dinosaurs as the representative of the large species ruling the world. But there were no humans in that era. In the modern history of archaeology, there was no evidence of the existence of humans in that era. And according to the description of that me, he established a kingdom during that period, which meant that not only did humans exist in his era, but they had also entered a feudal society. The feudal civilization in human history was the Qin dynasty, and its history was only 2,000 years old. According to the description of that me, he established a feudal dynasty more than 2 million years ago, and at that time, he was able to use the bronze book and leave his message in it. How could this kind of technology be comparable to the Qin dynasty 2 million years later? Not to mention the Qin dynasty, even the current era, did not have such technology. What exactly was going on? In the face of these questions, Charlotte's imagination went wild. His voice did not end normally. He said that he was ready to end his life, but there was no more content after that. What interrupted him? Or did his life end at that time? The voice in the bronze book was abnormally interrupted, which also filled Charlotte's heart with imagination. "Brother Lazy, where are you going?" Fanfan's voice came from behind. Just as Charlotte walked out of the villa, Fan chased after him. "I'm going to 101 innings." Charlotte did not even turn his head. "What are you doing at 101 innings?" Fan looked anxious. "When can we start work?" Charlotte quickened his pace and said as he walked, "That's your job, not mine. I've said it before, I'll naturally cooperate with you when I'm free." "You." Fan didn't know why Charlotte became like this. He was fine before yesterday. His coldness and dominance made her feel uncomfortable. Charlotte walked toward his Chevrolet Suburban. "Wait for me." Fan caught up and stood in front of Charlotte. Charlotte walked around her to open the car door. Fan stood in front of Charlotte again. This time, she opened her arms and puffed out her chest like an angry little girl. Charlotte wanted to laugh in his heart, but he had a cold expression on his face. "What do you want? Why are you doing this to me?" Fan said angrily. "What did I do to you? Did I molest you? Or did I hit you or scold you?" An arrogant sneer appeared at the corner of Charlotte's mouth. "That's it." Fan's emotions were a little out of control. "Boring." Charlotte said coldly, "Get out of the way. I'm in a hurry." "I won't move unless you tell me the reason." Fan maintained her blocking posture. Charlotte took a step closer to Fan. His chest and Fan's chest almost touched. Fan subconsciously took a step back, but behind her was the car door. She had no way to retreat. Charlotte took another step closer. Fan subconsciously hugged her chest for fear of being hit by Charlotte. After all, she was a woman who was afraid of contact. She had a psychological barrier. Even if she had the courage to stand in front of Charlotte, in the face of Charlotte's coercion, she still seemed so powerless, so fragile, and unable to resist. Charlotte suddenly reached out and pressed against the car door. Fan was trapped between his hands. His hands went through the ends of her hair. His chest was almost pressed against her chest, and his face was almost pressed against her face. "You." Fan suddenly became nervous, but there was nowhere to hide. In her heart, Charlotte was no longer a gentle and sunny man, but an overbearing CEO. He was aggressive. He was unreasonable. He was like a wild beast that broke in her secret garden, and he destroyed everything beautiful. "Are you sure you want to stand in front of me?" Charlotte's tone carried a hint of ridicule. Fan stared at Charlotte with bulging eyes, afraid that he would suddenly touch her. She was very nervous and a little scared, but when she thought of the work that had to be done, she seemed to have found her courage again. She bit her lips and said, "Yes." "Humph." Charlotte coldly snorted, and his body suddenly squeezed forward. Fan was immediately squeezed against the car door. His chest was tightly pressed against her chest, causing the two naughty and cute white rabbits to change shape. His legs were also tightly squeezed against her legs, without the slightest gap. His manly characteristic was to violently press against her most sensitive part, like a spear, directly hitting the weakest part of her defense. This kind of contact carried a domineering aura, and the courage and perseverance in Fan's heart instantly collapsed. Her face was also completely red, and under this extremely sensitive feeling, her body also began to slightly tremble. With her special physique, when Charlotte touched her like this, it was actually similar to directly invading her body. In that instant, the feeling of happiness surged through her body like a tide, and her legs suddenly went soft, as if her bones had been pulled out. "Are you sure you still want to block me?" Charlotte used even more strength to squeeze her body. "I'm begging you don't." Fonfon's snow-white neck was red, and her voice was also trembling. At this time, how could she dare say the word yes? She didn't even dare to look at Charlotte. Charlotte suddenly let go of her, pulled her to the side, opened the car door, and entered the driver's seat. Fan anxiously looked at Charlotte, her legs tightly closed, not daring to move forward. Charlotte started the car, stepped on the accelerator, and drove away. Tears welled up in Fonfon's eyes, and the corner of her mouth twitched. After a long time, she finally said, "Bad guy, pervert, you bully me, you bully me." However, her body yearned for the feeling just now, yearning for more. This made her feel ashamed. The Chevrolet Suburban drove forward, and Charlotte's gaze moved to the rearview mirror. Seeing that Fan was gradually being left behind, he apologetically said in his heart, "I'm sorry, I don't want to hurt you, but I have no choice." 101 Innings Headquarters. The Chevrolet Suburban had just stopped, and Tang Yuyin, who had been waiting in the parking lot for a long time, walked over. The tight black tank top made the size and height of her chest even more prominent, and the light blue denim shorts tightly wrapped around her sexy butt. That full and perky shape filled people with reverie. Her legs were exposed to the air, white and delicate, and her skin was as smooth and delicate as silk. Coupled with a pair of red New Balance sneakers, there was not a single part of her body that didn't exude a youthful and sexy aura. Charlotte got out of the car and greeted, "Morning, Yuyin." Tang Yuyin didn't speak, nor did she smile, and strode toward Charlotte. The morning wind blew her beautiful hair, and it felt extremely elegant. What does she want? Charlotte thought curiously in his heart. Before he could figure out this small problem, Tang Yuyin had already walked in front of him, and the moment their eyes met, Tang Yuyin suddenly stretched out her arms and pressed toward Charlotte. Charlotte subconsciously took a step back, but it was only one step, and his back hit the door of the tall Chevrolet Suburban off-road. It was also at that moment that Tang Yuyin's pair of lotus arms crossed his shoulders, brushed against his neck, and trapped him between her arms. This was a very intimate position, and her face was almost pressed against his face, and her chest was almost pressed against his chest. Her breath rolled onto his face, with a faint woman's fragrance. Their eyes still met, but Charlotte was stunned. About an hour ago, he gave Fan a wall slam, and played the role of a domineering CEO. But now, Tang Yuyin had also given him a domineering female CEO-style wall slam. If this was retribution, wouldn't it come too fast? However, after all, Charlotte was not Fan, and he did not have the special physique of Fan, so he was not afraid of such contact. Charlotte smiled. "What are you doing? I've asked you out 3 times this week, and you haven't come out even once. What do you want?" Tang Yuyin asked Charlotte a question. Charlotte said, "Lima Manufacturing Company is fully upgraded, and I have to build a new smart machine tool, the 2nd generation of Lei Long smart machine tool. I don't have time to come out and play with you." "Then why aren't you staying at the Thunder Horse Army factory? Why are you here today?" That it's not because... Charlotte suddenly stopped speaking. He suddenly understood why Tang Yuyin wall slam him. She had asked him out 3 times, but he didn't come out. Today, Liang Xiao was coming to 101 innings, so he rushed here from the Thunder Horse Army factory. It was this matter that had angered her. "Say something." Tang Yuyin pressed towards Charlotte, but she controlled the distance and never really came into contact with Charlotte. She seemed to want the kind of effect that would provoke you, but not give you. "This is different." Charlotte smiled bitterly and braced himself to say, "Liang Xiao coming to 101 innings is a bigger deal. You're still thinking about her, aren't you?" There was a hint of jealousy in Tang Yuyin's eyes. "Get out of the way. It's not good if others see us." Charlotte avoided her question. "I'm not afraid of being seen. What are you afraid of? Push me, push me." I bet you don't dare to push me. Charlotte. At this time, a fierce SUV drove into the parking lot. Charlotte saw Long Bing sitting in the driver's seat and Liang Xiao sitting in the front passenger seat. For some reason, Charlotte suddenly squeezed towards Tang Yuyin's body. Their chests collided at that moment. One was a hard stone, and the other was a soft cheese. With this collision, the cheese immediately changed shape. Liang Xiao blushed and took a step back. This scene did not escape the eyes of Long Bing and Liang Xiao. Long Bing did not have any reaction. She was still cold. Liang Xiao, on the other hand, frowned slightly and had a complicated look in her eyes. Tang Yuyin, on the other hand, revealed a proud smile. This was exactly what she wanted. Chapter 625. Long Bing and Liang Xiao got out of the car, and the two women walked towards Charlotte and Tang Yuyin together. The two women were both tall and voluptuous, sexy and enchanting. If a man had to choose one of them to date, it would really be a headache-inducing choice. At least, from that aspect, Charlotte didn't know how to choose. This was a choice between fish and bear's paw. Liang Xiao looked at Charlotte, and Charlotte also looked at her. Their eyes entangled in the air. There was no sound, no sparks, and there was a faint sadness in their hearts. When they met again, those beautiful past events were like yesterday, but they could never go back. Tang Yuyin broke the silence between the four of them. It's really interesting. Former opponents are going to become teammates. The world is really small. Was this a welcome speech or a reminder to Liang Xiao? A faint smile appeared on the corner of Liang Xiao's mouth. Her body also exuded a kind of confidence and calmness that was rare in a woman. This was her response to Tang Yuyin. Liang Xiao and Tang Yuyin were both women who practiced martial arts, but she and Tang Yuyin were two completely different women. If the characters in martial arts novels were to be described, then Tang Yuyin was probably Huang Rong, and Liang Xiao was probably Xiao Longnu. One was from a famous family and was full of evil spirits. The other wandered between good and evil and was unpredictable. Have you talked it over? Charlotte finally spoke. Liang Xiao smiled gently. It's all settled. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to come here. It's good that you're back. Thousands of words turned into one sentence. Charlotte was happy for her. Tang Yuyin said, Liang Xiao, although you got immunity, it doesn't mean that you didn't do something. You once hurt Charlotte, and I don't want the same thing to happen again. Of course, Liang Xiao wasn't happy to have the past brought up in front of Charlotte. She frowned slightly and said, Section Chief Tang, what are you trying to say? Or are you hinting at something? Tang Yuyin lightly said, We're all women here, so there's no need to say some words out loud. 101 innings is not the CIA. You are lucky to have this opportunity. You should cherish it and serve the country while to make up for the mistakes you have made in the past. You don't have to think about anything else. Section Chief Tang, what do you mean by others? You know what I'm talking about. The conversation between the two women was full of hostility. Charlotte suddenly had a headache. He coughed and said, Well, let's go to see Boss Sure. This is not a place to talk. Tang Yuyin and Liang Xiao shut their mouths. But at this time, Long Bing came up and grabbed Charlotte's collar in front of Tang Yuyin and Liang Xiao. Bing! Charlotte didn't know what she was going to do. He was inexplicably nervous. Long Bing straightened the collar of Charlotte's shirt and lightly said, After the divorce, is there no woman to tidy up your body? Look at you, your collar is not tidied up. Tang Yuyin and Liang Xiao were petrified on the spot. The two heroines were fighting, metaphorically and implicitly, fighting with words and swords. However, Division Chief Long was so fast that he left them far behind. In terms of relationship, Liang Xiao was just Charlotte's ex-girlfriend. Tang Yuyin didn't even confirm their relationship. She only had an ambiguous relationship with Charlotte. But Long Bing was Charlotte's woman. She could let Charlotte go to her bed. With this kind of relationship diagram, she could ignore the fight between Tang Yuyin and Long Bing and straighten Xiao Lei's collar in front of them. She could declare her ownership over Xiao Lei. Section Chief Long seemed to be telling Liang Xiao and Tang Yuyin in this way. No matter who had a relationship with Charlotte, he is mine. No one can push me away. Okay, let's go. Long Bing tidied Charlotte's collar and patted Charlotte's shoulder. Thank you. Charlotte was happy in his heart. He thought Long Bing did a good job. He didn't want to be a thing or a toy for Tang Yuyin and Liang Xiao to fight. From this point of view, Long Bing did this to help him out. But at this time, Tang Yuyin suddenly slapped Charlotte's buttocks. Slap! A crisp sound. Charlotte looked at Tang Yuyin with a stunned expression. Long Bing and Liang Xiao also looked at Tang Yuyin with a stunned expression. "Io, lazy, there's dust on your pants. Look at you, divorced. Don't you have a woman to help you pat the dust on your pants?" Tang Yuyin said. Charlotte, using the same method to hit back at Section Chief Long. Tang Yuyin also did a good job this time. But at this time, Liang Xiao also came over. Charlotte became nervous. He subconsciously looked at his body, looking for places that were not tidied up or dusty. Unfortunately, there are none. Liang Xiao didn't tidy Charlotte's collar, nor did she reach out to pat the dust on Charlotte's buttocks. She just said, "Lazy, my dad also moved to the capital. He wants to see you. Come home with me tonight." The sentence, "come home with me tonight," was said in a gentle and euphemistic way, like a wife talking to her husband. She was Charlotte's first girlfriend. If it weren't for her identity as a CIA intelligence officer at that time, she would have been Charlotte's marriage partner. Her father, Liang Zhengchun, was Charlotte's master. He taught Charlotte the Wing Chun Kung Fu that was passed down from his ancestors. He had long regarded Charlotte as his own son. Therefore, her advantage was not something that Long Bing and Tang Yuyin could compare with. And when she said, "Come home with me," this sentence made it even more impossible to pick out the slightest mistake in her wording. Liang Xiao also did a good job. Charlotte bit the bullet and nodded. "Where does Master live now?" Liang Xiao pursed her lips and smiled. "He lives with me. We rented a house in the Sunshine District." Charlotte said, "How can we rent a house? Why don't we?" Tang Yuyin suddenly interrupted Charlotte's words. "Let's go. If we are late, my godfather will scold us again." Only then did the three women's battle come to an end. Charlotte also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. This was only the first day, and the situation was already like this. If this happened more often, how could he live? He also began to regret coming here today. The four of them came to Sherborne's office, where Sherborne had been waiting for a long time. Sherborne's expression was serious. "Liang Xiao, you only have one chance. I hope you cherish it. Do you understand what I mean?" "Yes." Liang Xiao stood at attention and said, "After research, the Bureau has decided to set up an action team for Europe and the United States. Not only will it be responsible for intelligence work, but it will also be responsible for combat missions. Your team members will report to you later. You have to familiarize yourself with them and train them." "Yes." Liang Xiao's answer was simple and straightforward. "Finally, let me remind you, this is 101 innings, not the CIA. No scheming is allowed here, and no relationships between members are allowed. I know that you and Charlotte used to have a relationship. Although it was fake, I don't want any scandals between the two of you. Can you do it?" This time, Liang Xiao did not give a simple and direct answer. "Can you do it?" Sherborne's tone was very strict. Liang Xiao bit the bullet and nodded, yes. Rules were set by people who could control whether someone was in a relationship or not. Long Bing and Charlotte were a living example. The 101 innings rule was there, but the two still rolled in the sheets together. Tang Yuyin also pestered Charlotte to replace Shinta Tianin's former position. Therefore, the 101 innings rule was actually a decoration. "It's good that you understand. The three of you can go out," Sherborne said. Long Bing, Tang Yuyin, and Charlotte turned around and left. Sherborne said, "Charlotte, who said you can go? You stay. I'm talking about them." Liang Xiao was stunned for a moment, then followed Tang Yuyin and Long Bing out of Sherborne's office. "Boss, sure, what's the matter?" Charlotte asked tentatively. Sit. Sherborne got up with a smile on his face. "What tea do you want?" "I have Jean Junmei and oolong tea here." "Boss, sure, don't be so polite with me. If you have something to say, just say it," Charlotte said with a smile. "Then I won't make tea for you." Charlotte, Sherborin pressed Charlotte on the sofa, then stood in front of Charlotte like a bear. I say, you must know Yan's mind, right? She's not young anymore. Now that you've divorced Shinatianin, you're also a single man. The organization has decided to matchmake you too. What do you think? That isn't it forbidden to fall in love? Charlotte's head was already swollen. Sherborin glared at Xiaolei and said in a serious tone, of course it's not possible to talk about it in private, but this is a match made by the organization, so of course it's different. The organization he was referring to was probably him. Boss, sure, I've just divorced. I'm afraid of women, and you still want me to get married? Yan is not a tiger. What are you afraid of? You brat. Other people can't marry her even if they want to. She sent herself to your door, and you still want to push her away? Try pushing her again. I'll beat you to death. Charlotte, okay. I know you're not feeling well now. I'll give you some more time, but you have to make a decision quickly. Grandpa Tang calls me every day. I'm tired of him. Charlotte smiled bitterly. Thank you, boss, sure. By the way, how's your work at the Academy of Science going? Charlotte wanted to tell him the truth, but in the end, he just said, it's okay, but those people are not straightforward. They're just a bunch of people with a pen. Don't take them seriously. As for the work at the Academy of Science, you could just fool them. Hurry up and finish the work at hand, then come back to carry out the task. Well, I'll arrange an easy task for you later. Just you and Yin go to carry out the task. How about it? Charlotte, say something, kid. Okay, haha, okay. Charlotte laughed dryly. Get lost. Charlotte got up and left, as if a stone had been lifted from his heart. Wait. Sherborin suddenly stopped Charlotte. Boss, sure, is there anything else? Charlotte looked back at him. Sherborin pointed at Charlotte's nose. You're not allowed to fall in love with Liang Xiao. Absolutely not, or I'll beat you to death. Charlotte. Chapter 626. No matter what, his master was his master. A master for a day, a father for life. Charlotte hadn't visited Liang Zhengchun since he returned to China. Now that Liang Xiao mentioned it, he had to visit Liang Zhengchun no matter what. Charlotte prepared some gifts. In the evening, Charlotte drove to the Sunshine District where Liang Xiao rented. This was a very ordinary district. The houses were relatively old, and there weren't any greenery facilities in the public area. It was obvious that this was a district where ordinary people lived. Seeing his master and the woman he once loved living in such a place, Charlotte's heart didn't feel good. As soon as Charlotte parked the car, Liang Xiao walked over. She had been waiting for him since early in the morning. If you didn't come, I would have thought that you wouldn't come, Liang Xiao said with a smile. Charlotte got out of the car with a big bag of gifts. I bought some gifts on the way, so I was a bit delayed. No need to be so polite. Liang Xiao's eyes had a faint hint of admiration. Charlotte smiled. I can't come empty-handed, can I? Take the things and follow me. Liang Xiao took the bag of gifts from Charlotte's hands. Charlotte followed her and said, Xiao, why are you and Master living in a place like this? Liang Xiao said, What's wrong with living in a place like this? The place where my father and I used to live is just like this. There's not much difference. If you have any difficulties, just say it. You don't have to be polite with me. I didn't have the ability before, but now I can help you. Charlotte said, Are you talking about money? I really don't have much money. The CIA's salary isn't high. This time, I also ran away and didn't dare to withdraw money from the bank. This time, when I came back, my father paid for the rent. Liang Xiao said, Master didn't earn much money from opening a dojo before. How about this? I'll buy a house for you and Master, and then give Master some money for retirement. What do you think? This can also be considered a little filial piety. Charlotte said. Liang Xiao smiled. You want to buy a house for me and Dad? If that Tang Yin finds out, won't she come over and tear down the house? Charlotte was a little embarrassed. We're just ordinary friends. You treat her as an ordinary friend, but she doesn't treat you as an ordinary friend. Can't you see? This morning in the 101 innings, she put me in my place, hinting at me not to get close to you. She seems to think of you as her boyfriend, doesn't she? Charlotte didn't know how to answer this question. He coughed and said, Well, let's talk about something else. Have you gotten used to living in China? There's nothing going on between you and Longbing, right? Charlotte, although there was only a slight difference between men and women, sometimes they were like species from two different worlds, and there was no point in their thinking that could be intertwined. Entering the door, Charlotte saw Liang Zhengchun sitting on the sofa watching TV. He called out, "Master." Liang Zhengchun hurriedly stood up from the sofa. Liang Xiao said with a smile, "Dad, Leister is here, and he bought a lot of gifts for you." "Leister, really? My home is your home. Why would you buy gifts when you're back at your own home?" Although he said that, Liang Zhengchun's face was full of smiles. He had always treated Charlotte as his own son. Unfortunately, his daughter had done such a thing to Charlotte, and he, as her master, was too ashamed to see Charlotte. Now that Charlotte was here, even if he didn't buy anything, he was still happy in his heart. Charlotte went forward and knelt to Liang Zhengchun. This was an ancient ritual, but people who practiced martial arts paid attention to it. And Charlotte was also willing to give such a big gift to Liang Zhengchun because he was able to escape from danger several times and live to this day, which had a lot to do with the real Wing Chun Kung Fu that Liang Zhengchun taught him. Liang Zhengchun helped Xia Lei up and sighed his heart. "Look at you. If you want to come, then come. A gift, and a big gift at that." I'm ashamed. I can't accept your big gift." "Master, don't say that. You are my master in this life. Besides, how could I come to see Master empty-handed? No matter what, I have to buy something, right? In fact, I didn't buy anything, just the frozen top oolong tea and some supplements that Master likes to drink." Charlotte said. Liang Zhengchun laughed. "You kid, do you think I've reached the point where I need to eat supplements? Although I'm old, I'm still strong." Liang Xiao said, "Dad, Lei Zi is here. Let's eat." Liang Zhengchun looked at Liang Xiao. His face suddenly became cold and sternly said, "Eat what? There's still one thing left to do." Charlotte couldn't bear to see Liang Xiao being blamed and quickly said, "Master, what else left to do? I'll do it. You just stand." Liang Zhengchun said, "Xiao, come here." Liang Xiao's lips moved a bit, and she slowly walked in front of Liang Zhengchun and Charlotte. "Kneel!" Liang Zhengchun shouted. Liang Xiao shivered and looked at Charlotte. "Why are you looking at him? I want you to kneel down and apologize to Lei Zi." Liang Zhengchun angrily looked at Liang Xiao. Charlotte finally understood what Liang Zhengchun meant by the things he didn't do, and quickly tried to persuade him. "Master, don't be like this. Xiao and I are fine. I don't want her to apologize to me. She didn't do anything wrong. It's her job." "You're still protecting her." Liang Zhengchun was even angrier. At this moment, Liang Xiao knelt in front of Xia Lei with a plop. Her tears also flowed out uncontrollably. "Lei Zi, I was wrong. Please forgive me." Charlotte reached out to support Liang Xiao, but Liang Xiao didn't get up. "If you don't forgive me, I won't get up," Liang Xiao said. Charlotte's eyes were a bit moist, and his voice was slightly trembling. I forgive you, it's okay. Get up, get up." Only then did Liang Xiao accept Charlotte's support and stood up from the ground. She saw the tears in Charlotte's eyes, and at that moment, her heart was touched in the softest place. Happiness and sadness swept through her heart, and her tears once again uncontrollably flowed down. "Why are you crying? Do you regret it? When you and Lei Zi were together, it was a blessing given to you by the heavens, but you didn't cherish it and even did that kind of thing behind his back. My old face has been thrown away by you." Liang Zhengchun really didn't give any face to Liang Xiao. Liang Xiao silently accepted it. She dared to look at Charlotte, but she didn't dare to look at Liang Zhengchun. Okay, let's eat." Charlotte quickly diverted Liang Zhengchun's attention. At the dining table, Liang Xiao obediently poured a glass of wine for Liang Zhengchun and Charlotte. Charlotte said, "Xiao, you also drink a glass. It's rare for us to reunite today." Liang Xiao nodded, and then looked at Liang Zhengchun as if asking for his permission. Liang Zhengchun snappily said, "If Lei Zi wants you to drink, then drink. Do you want me to pour wine for you?" Charlotte had already picked up the wine bottle and poured a glass of wine for Liang Xiao. "Thank you." Liang Xiao's voice was very small. Let's drink to this reunion. Charlotte raised his glass. The three glasses clinked together. This glass of wine seemed to be particularly sweet. After drinking a few glasses of wine, the atmosphere also eased up, and Charlotte said, Master, I want to discuss something with you. What is it? Liang Zhengchun looked at Liang Xiao, and the latter also picked up a piece of pork ribs for Charlotte. Charlotte didn't pay attention to this. He said, Master, I didn't have the ability to be filial to you before, but now I have the ability. I don't feel good about you living in such a place. You're like my father, and others will say that I am unfilial. What do you want to say? Liang Xiao interrupted, Dad, Lazy wants to buy us a house, and he also said that he wants to give it to you. Liang Zhengchun interrupted Liang Xiao's words. When did I allow you to speak? Shut up. Oh. Liang Xiao obediently closed her mouth. Liang Zhengchun looked at Charlotte. Is it true? Charlotte said, That's what I mean. I want to buy you and Xiao a house, and I want to give Master some money for his retirement. How can you do that? Master, why can't it? You are my master, and I am your son. Why can't a son buy a house for his father? Just accept it, and give me a chance to be filial. Charlotte said very sincerely, You have a house and retirement money. Liang Zhengchun said with a smile, Don't tell me you still miss my silly daughter. Charlotte, Dad. Liang Xiao rolled her eyes at Liang Zhengchun. Lazy wants to be filial to you. Why are you dragging me into this? Lazy is filial. Just accept it. It's not a big deal. I will pay him back later. How? Do you think I don't know how expensive a house in the capital is? Even if I sell you to him, you won't be able to pay him back. Liang Zhengchun said. Liang Xiao secretly glanced at Charlotte with the corner of her eyes. Charlotte quickly picked up the ribs that Liang Xiao put into his bowl and chewed it again and again. Okay, I will accept it. However, you bought the house, so you have to come and see me every few days, or else I will move back. Liang Zhengchun said. Charlotte smiled and said, Of course, of course. After eating, Liang Zhengchun said he was going to find someone to play chess with. He didn't wait for Liang Xiao to clean up the dishes and slipped away. Only Charlotte and Liang Xiao were left in the house. The atmosphere was inevitably a bit awkward when old lovers get together. I will help you clean up. Charlotte helped Liang Xiao clean up the dishes. Liang Xiao grabbed Charlotte's hand. How can you let a man do this kind of thing? You rest. She let Charlotte rest, but she didn't let go of Charlotte's hand. That, I will help you clean up. Charlotte pulled his hand out, picked up a plate, and walked to the kitchen. Liang Xiao also walked to the kitchen, but the kitchen door was narrow. The two walked in at the same time and suddenly squeezed together. Liang Xiao's soft breasts were pressed against Charlotte's chest, and a half plate of scrambled eggs with tomatoes in her hand was splashed on her and Charlotte. The two hurriedly separated, but the half plate of scrambled eggs with tomatoes had already taken root on her chest, lower abdomen, and short skirt. Charlotte wasn't spared either. His chest, lower abdomen, and crotch were full of tomato juice. Sorry, don't move, let me help you. Liang Xiao reached out to pat the tomato and scrambled eggs stuck to Charlotte's crotch. Charlotte didn't react, and that place was patted twice. Her hands seemed to have magic, and with just 2 light pats, the cloth seemed to inflate a little. Liang Xiao squatted down and continued to clean the dirty things on Charlotte's pants. Her neckline was wide open, and there were some tomatoes and scrambled eggs in the snow-white, deep cleavage. Not only did it not feel dirty, but it also added a bit of delicious taste. Her squatting posture exposed more of her peerlessly beautiful legs, and there was even a hint of purple lace on the edge of her legs. The snow-white thighs, the purple lace, and the mature area tightly bound, the faint indentation, the chubby shape, all of these were tempting. As a result, before Liang Xiao's soft hand visited that place again, Charlotte's part popped up again. Take it off later. I will wash it for you. Liang Xiao's voice was very gentle, and a soft hand gently patted Charlotte's crotch. Rather than patting, it was actually like an iron, and there was steam added. Charlotte soon couldn't stand it. Well, I suddenly remembered that I still have something to do. I have to go back to the company. You, how are you going to go out like this? Liang Xiao's eyes were full of disappointment. Charlotte pulled away and left. It's okay, it's just dirty pants. I'm sitting in the car, no one will see. By the way, I will ask my assistant to look at the house tomorrow, and I will call you when it's done. Liang Xiao sighed softly. She didn't want the house. Could he not see it at all? Chapter 6:27. In the dawn, a pair of young people strolled on the grass. The man was handsome and tall, and the woman was gentle and lovely. Hand in hand, the two of them formed a beautiful scene in the golden morning sun. Charlotte looked at the young people, and his mouth couldn't help but show a smile. The boy was Ryu Youngnam, and the girl was his sister. Seeing that his sister could find the happiness that belonged to her, his heart was very pleased. Ryu Youngnam was not only excellent at work, but he also had a way of dealing with people. More importantly, his character was very good. He was a man who knew how to take responsibility. He was very relieved to entrust Xia Shui to him. Charlotte walked over. Brother, are you also taking a walk? Xia Shui saw Charlotte and said kindly, Chairman Xia, good morning. Ryu Youngnam also greeted Charlotte. Xia Shui touched Ryu Youngnam with her arm. It seemed that she was hinting something to him with this action. Ryu Youngnam also changed the way he addressed him, brother. This was a form of address to confirm their relationship. Charlotte was a little embarrassed, but he still nodded. In Masato, you go and buy a house today. Why do I need to buy a house? I have my own house, Ryu Youngnam said. Xia Shui smiled and said, Brother, do you want Masato to buy a house and a car to marry me? Charlotte glared at Xia Shui. What are you talking about? If you get married, I will give you a building. Why do you need Masato to buy a house? I asked Masato to buy a house for my master. The property rights will be registered under Liang Zhengchuan's name. And no problem. Ryu Youngnam agreed immediately. Brother, is Liang Xiao back? Xia Shui probed. Charlotte said, yes, she is back. Brother, did you and Liang Xiao get back together again? Why do you talk so much? You don't have to worry about my business. Charlotte said again, Masato, when you buy the house, get another 5 million from the finance department. Give this money and the property rights to my master. Okay, no problem, Chairman Xia. Brother, Ryu Youngnam seemed to be not used to this new form of address. I'm going to the workshop. Charlotte turned around and left. Brother, I'm also going to buy a house. Xia Shui said. Charlotte waved his hand. Go. Buy a villa. Don't try to save money for me. It's under my master's name. It has to be generous. Well, don't worry. Leave this matter to me and Masahiro. Xia Shui said with a smile. When Charlotte walked away, she said to Masahiro, Masahiro, let's go to the real estate under the Wanxiang Group to take a look. Buy a building from sister-in-law? Ryu Youngnam looked troubled. Chairman Xia didn't say anything about it. He probably doesn't want to do that, right? Chairman Xia, spit out what you ate from me. Ryu Youngnam was speechless. Xia Shui said charmingly, listen to me on this matter. But Ryu Youngnam wanted to say something, but stopped. Xia Shui took Ryu Youngnam's arm and shook it gently. Then, do you listen to my brother or me? You. Ryu Youngnam couldn't stand the coquettish Xia Shui, but he also had his opinion. But why do you want to buy a building from sister-in-law? If we go there, she will definitely not ask for money. You're stupid, Xia Shui said with a smile. Liang Xiao is back, and sister-in-law still doesn't know about it. Liang Xiao is my brother's first girlfriend. We almost got married. She's back now. If sister-in-law doesn't take the initiative, she won't have a chance to get back together with my brother. I'm doing this to send a signal to her. Besides, it's just a villa. My brother doesn't care about it, and my sister-in-law doesn't care about it either. If my brother knows about this, what should I do if he scolds me? You can rest assured. I will block it for you. Then you give me a kiss. Didn't you eat enough last night? You're a greedy little pig. He just one kiss. Bo. Xia Shui's cherry lips were attached to Ryu Youngnam's cheek. Love was an intoxicating wine, but it was also a tangled vine. Charlotte walked to the new workshop where the second generation of Lei Long's smart machine tool was built. Before he got close, he saw a person standing at the door of the workshop. That was Fan Fan. She was wearing a summer uniform of the Lei Mom military factory, short-sleeved and trousers, and the shoes on her feet were also a pair of big-toe leather shoes. She didn't look like a female scientist in this dress, but a blue-collar female worker who had just entered the factory. Fan Fan was still wearing the work clothes, and she was still curvy and full of curves. Especially the snow white exposed in the open collar of the short-sleeved shirt, and the clearly visible deep cleavage. It was eye-catching temptation. Charlotte felt strange, but he still pretended to be cold on the surface. "What are you doing here?" "I want to be your assistant," said Fan Fan. "Huh?" Charlotte sneered. "You want to be my assistant?" Fan Fan looked very serious. "Yes, I want to be your assistant. I will help you finish your work, and you will help me finish mine." Charlotte said, "You study bioengineering, and I do the work of a mechanic and an electrical engineer. What can you help me with?" I can help you with the tools. When you are thirsty, I can help you pour water. I can also help you wipe your sweat." Fan Fan blushed. She knew very well that she couldn't help much with the work that Charlotte wanted to do. But apart from this method, she really couldn't think of a way to let Charlotte cooperate with her work. "You go back. I said that when I have time, I will cooperate with your work." Charlotte bypassed Fan Fan and went to the door to enter the password. The door opened. Charlotte entered the workshop, and Fan Fan followed. Charlotte looked at her speechlessly. "You? What do you want?" "To be your assistant," Fan Fan said angrily. She had never been ignored like this, but now Charlotte not only ignored her existence, but also looked down on her. "Well, go and bring me that tube of wire." Charlotte pointed to the corner of the workshop, where there was a tube of wire that weighed 50 pounds. Fan Fan followed and bent down to pick up the tube of wire. She carried it with difficulty, and her footsteps were somewhat unstable, but she gritted her teeth and persisted, step by step, toward Charlotte. "If you can't do it, don't force yourself," Charlotte said. "I'll be your assistant, and you have to help me finish my work," Fan Fan said. Seeing her struggling, Xiaolei couldn't bear it and almost agreed to her request. But he swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. He had to follow his plan, or else all the efforts he had made during this time would be in vain. "I'm sorry, I don't want to do this, but you are working for the ZN Bureau. You are an opponent I must win against," Charlotte secretly said in his heart. Fan Fan staggered over to Charlotte, and at that moment, her foot slipped on an oil stain. She suddenly cried out in alarm, and the two of them fell to the ground together with the wire. Charlotte suddenly leaned over, grabbed her waist, and twisted her body onto his before she fell to the ground. "Pada!" The two of them fell to the ground, but Charlotte was under Fan Fan. Charlotte acted as a shock absorber, so she wasn't injured. Strangely, the two of them who had fallen to the ground strangely quietened down. Fan Fan, who was afraid of contact, didn't resist, nor did she get up from Charlotte's body. She just lay on Charlotte's body and quietly looked at Charlotte. Her body gently pressed against his body, and she could feel what was happening to Charlotte's body. That place was getting harder and harder, and it was standing up bit by bit, invading the area between her legs. Charlotte felt strange in his heart. Isn't she afraid of contact? Now that she's lying on me, why is she so quiet? But at this moment, 2 tears rolled out of Fanfan's eyes and fell on Charlotte's face. "You?" Charlotte was a loss. "What's wrong with you?" It was fine if Charlotte didn't speak, but as soon as he spoke, Fan Fan suddenly cried, and her tears fell one after another. You bullied me. What did I do wrong? Why do you bully me like this? When did I bully you? You still deny it. You asked me to take off my clothes. You asked me to help you take things. Now you're still thinking about bad things in your mind. Charlotte, I just want you to cooperate with me to complete the work. Why are you making things difficult for me? Xiaolei suddenly moved the hand that was on Fanfan's waist a little lower. Under his hand, that plump and perky buttocks suddenly trembled a little. Fan Fan suddenly became nervous. After all, she was a woman with a special physique. Her emotions had suppressed her body's reaction just now, But after venting, her emotions stabilized, and her body's reaction was suddenly magnified. Charlotte's hand stroked her, and that feeling was like an electric shock. This feeling was magnified by her nerves, and her body suddenly turned into a pile of soft mud. In the blink of an eye, her cheeks and neck had red marks of excitement. Charlotte pretended to comfort her as he played naughty tricks. "Don't cry, don't cry. This is a misunderstanding." Fan bit her cherry lips, and her beautiful eyes were about to spit fire. "What are you doing with your hand?" Charlotte pretended not to hear, and his hand continued to play naughty tricks. "No, stop it. What are you trying to do?" Fan bit her cherry lips, and her body trembled. She could have broken free from Charlotte and climbed up from his body, but she didn't do so. The feeling of being touched by him was so wonderful that she was addicted to it. If she got up, Charlotte would stop his action, but she didn't. "I've been ignoring her these days, and even bullying her, but she doesn't really hate me. Now that I'm treating her like this, she actually doesn't avoid me. It seems that I've thought too highly of her. She has actually fallen for me." Charlotte thought of this in his heart, and it was also under this thought that he suddenly raised his head and kissed Fan's cherry lips. Fan's body suddenly trembled violently, and her whole body turned into a pile of soft mud. Under Charlotte's offensive, she had already laid down her arms and surrendered. She liked Charlotte, and that seed was actually sown in the Academy of Sciences. That time at the Academy of Sciences, Charlotte was mocked and ridiculed by Lin Yi, and looked down upon by several old scientists. But he only used a few minutes to solve a problem that Lin Yi couldn't solve in half a month. At that time, in her eyes, Charlotte was a shining man. She liked men with a high IQ, and this condition was ranked before money and appearance. But Charlotte not only had a high IQ that made her admire him, but he was also a successful, handsome man. He was also the father of rifles in China, and the person who built the world's most advanced Lei-Long intelligent machine tool. How could such a man not make her heart move? She liked Charlotte, and the seed germinated on the way to the first hidden treasure. She hated others touching her, but she didn't dislike Charlotte carrying her through that muddy road. Moreover, she actually entered that tall thing in his arms just like that. A man let a woman enter that tall thing. Even if she didn't admit it, it was also evidence that she liked him. These days, Charlotte deliberately ignored her and even bullied her. She was very uncomfortable, and her mood was extremely low. She also realized that unknowingly, Charlotte had already entered her heart, and she couldn't get rid of it. Now, Charlotte's kiss ignited her emotions. Her last psychological line of defense also collapsed. However, Charlotte didn't know about her psychological changes, but Charlotte also had his own way. During the passionate kiss, his hand quietly reached into her clothes. Fan nervously closed her eyes, but apart from this reaction, she didn't have any other reaction. Success. Charlotte's heart was filled with excitement. "Chairman Xia." A man's voice suddenly came from the loudspeaker system in the workshop. The entangled man and woman suddenly stopped, and Charlotte's hand was still holding that soft and naughty big white rabbit. Fan stared at the closed door with her eyes wide open, and a trace of sparkling saliva remained at the corner of her mouth. This still picture was very wonderful, very beautiful. Chapter 628. "Director Xia, are you inside?" The person outside the door spoke again. Only then did the still scene move. Charlotte was the first to break the silence. Fan, get up quickly. Someone's here." Fan's soul had been floating in the air until Charlotte's voice called her back. After coming back to her senses, she hurriedly climbed up from Charlotte's body, but because of her body's sensitive reaction and lack of strength, she actually fell back down. Those two mischievous white rabbits fell heavily on Charlotte's chest again. This was really going to kill her. "It's all because of you," Fan said as she bit her lip. Only then did she carefully climb up from Charlotte's body. Charlotte also climbed up from the ground. There was a black grease stain on his butt. However, this wasn't the most embarrassing part of his body. The most embarrassing part was between his legs. There seemed to be a writing brush hidden there, and it was a standing writing brush. Fan Fan looked at the writing brush out of the corner of her eyes. Her watery eyes were like a person walking in the desert who saw a sweet and juicy sugarcane. Charlotte sighed in his heart. Women with special constitutions were really interesting. She was like a grassland in winter. She was fine as long as there was no light, but as long as there was a spark, she would burn like crazy. Still looking? You only know how to bully me, said Fan Fan with a red face. Charlotte smiled awkwardly. He didn't know what to say. Charlotte waited until Fan Fan had tidied herself up before opening the door. The Thunder Horse military factory security guard stood at the door of the workshop. What's the matter? Charlotte wasn't angry that his good time had been disturbed. The security guard said, Director Xia, there's a person outside the door. He says he wants to see you, but he won't say his identity. He won't even tell me his name. Department head Lu isn't here, so I came to ask Director Xia. All right, I got it. You go first and bring him my office. I'll be right there, said Charlotte. Yes, Director Xia. The security captain left. Fan Fan said, Could it be my grandfather? Charlotte asked, Is your grandfather coming? Fan Fan said, I told you my grandpa is coming too. He said that this would be beneficial to the research of the Alloy X project. Of course, Charlotte knew about this matter. He was secretly glad that he had just dealt with Fan Fan. If he hadn't dealt with Fan Fan earlier and Fan Yiming had arrived, he wouldn't have had a chance to deal with her under Fan Yiming's watch. However, he still couldn't relax, because that level of effort just now wasn't enough to truly deal with Fan Fan. He still had to put in a bit more effort to completely deal with Fan Fan before Fan Yiming found out. I'll go take a look. Wait for me here, Charlotte said. However, Fan Fan wanted to catch up. I want to go and take a look too. All right, let's go together, Charlotte said. Wait. Fan Fan suddenly reached out and grabbed Charlotte's pants. Charlotte subconsciously took a step back and said nervously, What are you doing? We're outside. Fanfan's face turned red. Your zipper is open. I'll help you pull it up. Charlotte was speechless. He did not know when his zipper had been unzipped, but he must have known that it had been unzipped by Fan Fan. He really couldn't tell that the pure and cute female scientist was actually a woman who was sultry on the inside. When he arrived at the office, Charlotte didn't only see Fan Yiming, but also an unfamiliar man. He was between 30 and 40 years old, had an average figure, and looked ordinary. However, his eyes left a deep impression. They were like the eyes of an eagle, sharp and unfathomable. Who is this person? Charlotte thought to himself. Why did this person come here with Fan Yiming? At this moment, Fan Yiming smiled and said, Mr. Xia, let me introduce you. This is my student. His name is Song Baiqing. Yes, he could be considered to be in the same field as me. He has high attainments in the field of material science. When Fan Yiming introduced Song Baiqing, Charlotte glanced at Fan Fan from the corner of his eye. He realized that Fan Fan was still staring at Song Baiqing. Fanfan's reaction aroused Charlotte's suspicion. If this Song Baiqing is really Fan Yiming's student, then Fan Fan would definitely recognize him. She wouldn't stare at him like that, right? Moreover, she didn't even greet him. If he isn't Fan Yiming's student, then why did Fan Yiming say that he is? Could this Song Baiqing be someone from Bureau Zien? Song Baiqing walked up and took the initiative to extend his hands to shake Charlotte's hand. When he spoke, he had a flattering smile on his face. Mr. Xia, it's really a pleasure to meet you in person. Although Charlotte had begun to doubt Song Baiqing's identity, his expression remained unchanged. He shook hands with Song Baiqing and said with a smile, Mr. Song is too polite. I respect you scientists the most. It's a pleasure to meet you. Fan Yiming said, Mr. Xia, I plan to stay here for a few days. Firstly, it's to help Fan Fan complete her work. Secondly, it's to start the Alloy X project. What do you think? Elder Fan, of course, that's no problem. You can stay here for as long as you want. Charlotte said a few polite words. Fan Yiming said again, Baiqing also has to stay. He's my assistant. That's no problem, right? Charlotte smiled. Of course, no problem. I'll get someone to arrange a place for you to stay. Song Baiqing said, There's no need to specially arrange it. Elder Fan and I will stay in that villa. Just arrange 2 rooms for us. This Song Baiching knew about that villa the first time he came. He clearly came prepared. The probability of him being from Bureau ZN was more than 50%. Fan Yiming said, yes, yes. Let's stay in that villa. I heard from Fan Fan that your laboratory is also there. It'll be good for us to work there. Charlotte said, no problem. Then you can stay there. Come with me. I'll take you there. Charlotte led Fan Yiming, Song Baiching, and Fan Fan to the villa. Then, he arranged a room for Fan Yiming and Song Baiching. Fan Yiming then suggested that they go to Charlotte's laboratory to take a look. Charlotte brought the three of them to his laboratory for a tour. I really want to see that metal, Song Baiching said as he looked at the safe. Charlotte said with a smile, if Mr. Song really wants to see it, I can satisfy you. I can take it out and show it to you. Song Baiching was obviously very moved, but he made the opposite decision in the blink of an eye. Forget it. I heard that metal is very dangerous. Until now, only Mr. Xia has been able to touch it. I'll wait for the right opportunity to see it. After leaving the underground laboratory, Song Baiching suggested that they go to Fan Fan's laboratory to take a look. Fan Fan brought Song Baiching and Fan Yiming to her laboratory. Charlotte said, you guys go ahead. I won't be going. I have to go to the workshop. Thunder Horse Military Factory is being fully upgraded. I really don't have enough time. If you need anything, just give me a call. Mr. Xia, go do your work. We'll call you if we need anything, said Fan Yiming. Fan Fan looked at Charlotte with a complicated expression. She clearly hadn't gotten over the previous incident. If her grandfather and Song Baiching hadn't suddenly come to Thunder Horse Military Factory, and if that security guard hadn't knocked on the door, she really didn't know how far she and Charlotte would have progressed. She didn't know why, but not only was she not afraid of developing a relationship with Charlotte, she was actually looking forward to it. Fan Fan, go. Bring your grandfather and Mr. Song, said Charlotte. See you later, said Fan Fan with a hint of a smile at the corners of her mouth. See you later? Was this a hint? Charlotte smiled and turned to leave. Walking out of the villa, Charlotte didn't go to the new workshop. He took out his phone and stood below the villa, pretending to make a call. His left eye's line of sight locked onto Fan Fan's laboratory, and then he activated his X-ray vision. Fan Fan's laboratory was on the first floor. Standing in front of the villa's door, Charlotte only needed to use his X-ray vision to see the situation in the laboratory. In the laboratory, Song Baiching was in front of Fan Fan's laptop, looking at the document Fan Fan had created. Fan Fan and Fan Yiming were next to him, talking. Charlotte used lip reading to decipher the conversation between Fan Yiming and Fan Fan. Grandfather, this Mr. Song isn't your student. Why you say he is? Said Fan Fan. This Mr. Song is. Don't ask about things you shouldn't ask. Just do your job properly, said Fan Yiming. Fan Fan smirked. Big Brother Late doesn't like it when I treat him like a lab rat, and I don't know who wants us to do this. I can't explain it to him either. This is unfair to him. He is our country's hero, not a lab rat. This is a huge matter for the entire human race. No one can stop it, said Fan Yiming. I believe that Charlotte will understand. At this moment, Song Baiching finished reading Fan Fan's document. He turned around and looked at Fan Fan with a slightly unhappy expression. That's all you have? You don't even have the most important part. I've already started. Fan Fan looked a little nervous. Is Charlotte unwilling? Asked Song Baiching. No, he has always been very cooperative with me. It's just that. He's too busy, said Fan Fan. Song Baiching looked at Fan Yiming. Elder Fan, this is very important. We can't delay it any longer. I want to completely understand Charlotte's body condition in 1 week. Can you do it? If you can't, I'll get someone else to do it. We can do it, said Fan Yiming. Fan Fan looked like she wanted to say something, but Fan Yiming touched her arm, indicating that she shouldn't speak. Song Baiching said, during this week, I will help you complete your work. If Charlotte rejects it, I will put pressure on him. If he cooperates, I won't do anything and just wait for you to come up with the results. Is there a problem? No problem, said Fan Yiming. I don't have a problem either. Fan Fan's response was very straightforward, but her eyebrows were slightly furrowed. Charlotte ended his X-ray vision. His heart was clear. This song Baiching was definitely someone from Bureau ZN. He also knew very well why Fan Fan was furrowing her eyebrows. It was because she knew that he rejected research that was directed at him. In fact, it wasn't hard to see from this point that although Fan Fan was working for Bureau ZN, her heart was still with him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have lied to Song Baiching and Fan Yiming and said that he was very cooperative. I bullied her so much, but she was still willing to help me. She's so good, but I was thinking about how to get her into bed and achieve my goal. I'm really a hooligan. Charlotte shook his head and smiled bitterly. His heart was also filled with guilt. However, what should be done still had to be done. Chapter 629. Not long after Charlotte returned to the new workshop, Fan Fan arrived. She had already changed out of her work clothes and put on the clothes she wore in the laboratory. It was a white long-sleeved antibacterial coat, a black short skirt, and a white t-shirt. It looked like a piece of cream candy. She also brought a notepad and a camera. Song Baiching had given her and Fan Yiming a week's time limit. She had to show a positive attitude. Charlotte smiled. Didn't your grandfather and Mr. Song come? He clearly knew the answer. Fan Fan said they were talking about the Mystic Gold project. I couldn't get a word in, so I came over. That Mr. Song is really troublesome. That Mr. Song isn't your grandfather's student, right? Charlotte asked casually. Fan Fan said, my grandfather has a lot of students. I know almost all of them, but this is the first time I've seen Mr. Song. So you're not sure? Fan Fan nodded. Yes. If he hadn't seen the conversation between her and Fan Yiming in the laboratory, Charlotte would have thought that she was lying. But now he didn't think so. He also began to understand her. She was just playing an awkward role in this matter. Fan Fan was silent for a moment before saying, forget it. I'll tell you. He isn't my grandfather's student at all. He's the person in charge of this project. He gave my grandfather a week's time limit. He said. Charlotte smiled. What did he say? Fan Fan gathered her courage. He said he wanted to understand your physical condition in a week. If my grandfather and I can't complete this task in a week, he will find someone else to do it. Charlotte knew all of this. But when Fan Fan said it personally, it gave off a different feeling. Xiaolei was very happy in his heart, but he pretended to be angry on the surface. I'm willing to cooperate because of you and Elder Fan. Who does he think he is? Does he have the right to use me as a lab rat? Fan Fan seemed to be infected by Charlotte, and her emotions became a little agitated. Yeah, I also feel that it's unfair for you. You risked your life to retrieve the ancient alloy, and you also risked your life to study it. You've created the world's leading XL 2500 sniper rifle and Gale assault rifle for this country, as well as the world's most advanced AI machine tool. Even the European and American countries are eager to get their hands on it. You are our hero, the idol of us researchers, but they treat you like this. This is not fair to you. Without waiting for her to finish speaking, Charlotte suddenly pulled her into his arms and bent down to kiss her lips. At that moment, Fan Fan instinctively leaned back, wanting to avoid it, but she overestimated the flexibility of her slender waist and Charlotte's technique. Just as she leaned back, Charlotte's right arm wrapped around her waist, and his upper body leaned forward, chasing after her cherry lips. And he only needed a second to catch up. Her lips were moist and sweet, and he couldn't help but suck them in. Fan Fan moaned, and her delicate body trembled. Her physical and psychological defenses collapsed in an instant. Long before Fan Yiming and Song Baiching arrived, she had already been conquered by Charlotte. Now, if Charlotte wanted to conquer her again, all he needed was a kiss and a few seconds. He was her idol, her hero, and he fulfilled all the requirements of her dream love partner. Since he was so proactive, what reason did she have to refuse? His kiss was so wonderful, and at that moment, she felt like she was flying in the clouds. Every breath she inhaled was filled with sweetness and happiness. Why should she struggle to escape? For Charlotte, Fan Yiming and Song Baiching's sudden arrival was a sign that the crisis had escalated. In front of him was his only chance to win over Fan Fan. He must use this opportunity to settle Fan Fan as soon as possible. Right here, in his arms, Fan Fan had already turned into a pile of soft mud. Her breathing was heavy, and her face was flushed red. Her body kept trembling as if she was in extreme pain, but also extremely happy. And this was just the beginning. Charlotte picked her up and walked to the temporary lounge in the workshop. There was a sofa there. You really want to do it here with me? In Charlotte's arms, Fan Fan was very nervous. Girls attached great importance to their first time. Some girls wanted their first time to happen in a luxurious palace. Some girls wanted their first time to happen in the most luxurious hotel, and some girls wanted their first time to happen in a garden full of flowers. No girl wanted their first time to happen in a dirty workshop lounge. Charlotte's lounge looked really dirty. On the ground, there were several sets of work clothes that he had changed out of and were waiting to be washed. There were also some instant noodle boxes and some other garbage. Charlotte put her on the sofa. This was his answer. Are you serious? Fan Fan was even more nervous. Charlotte unbuttoned her white antibacterial clothes. This was his answer. I am serious. If you just want to play, I beg you not to continue. I can't stand that kind of hurt. My heart is as sensitive as my body. I think I will die. Fan's eyes were full of pleading and desire. Charlotte's hand reached in her short skirt, hooked the rubber band, and took out the white lace hidden inside. This was his answer. Talk to me, I beg you. Talk to me. Tell me, you love me. You're serious. Tell me. Charlotte pressed down and blocked her mouth with his tongue. This was his answer. Soon, Fan's mouth was only left with nonsense that even God couldn't understand. She felt like she was a fish swimming in the waves. The waves of happiness hit her, surrounded her, and took her to the place where the mermaids lived. She also found that her questions just now were so boring, so unnecessary, and not as good as Charlotte's rough action. Finally, it was done. After an unknown period of time, the chaotic and passionate scene finally came to a stop. Fan quietly curled up in Charlotte's arms, and every cell in her body was full of happiness. Her special constitution brought her a lot of troubles, but it also brought her happiness that other women couldn't enjoy. At this moment, in her eyes, not only did Charlotte become the most beautiful man in the world, but even the dirty lounge in front of her was beautiful, and it didn't make her feel disgusted. Charlotte said in her ear, "You asked me so many questions just now. Do you still want to know the answer?" Fan looked at Charlotte. Her eyes were full of love, and the corners of her mouth also bloomed into a sweet smile. "I don't want to know. If you want to lie to me for a lifetime." This was such a sweet word of love. Charlotte's heart gave birth to a faint trace of guilt. He approached her, he conquered her from the beginning, with a purpose, not love. Fan was such a kind and pure, even fragile girl, but he had to cruelly lie to her. This feeling was not good. And what made him even more uncomfortable was that this scam had to continue. "Fool, if I lied to you for a lifetime, won't you be very pitiful?" "No, I think I'm very happy now. I've never been so happy. Do you know how many times I've been happy?" "What? That? Which?" Fan bit her cherry lips and then whispered something to Charlotte's ear. Charlotte's mouth opened wide, and he couldn't close it. It was such a small secret, but Charlotte suddenly felt that she was the most interesting woman he had ever seen, and she also quietly drilled into his heart, using her own way to treat the scars left by Shinatianin. In fact, the best medicine to treat the scars brought about by love was not time, but new love. "Don't laugh at me. I don't want to, but my body is like this the moment you touch me. I can't help it," Fan said shyly. She buried her head in Charlotte's chest, not daring to look in his eyes. Fan, I love you." Fan moaned, and her delicate body suddenly trembled. Charlotte was stunned for a moment, and he said in surprise, "You're not doing that again, are you?" Fan bit her lip and didn't say anything, but she lightly nodded. Charlotte. He was speechless, but he knew that from now on, he had an exquisite girlfriend by his side. After a while of tenderness, Charlotte said, Fan, from now on, I will fully cooperate with you and your grandfather. In 1 week, You and your grandfather will be able to give Song Baiching a satisfactory answer. And then? Fanfan's mind was no longer on work. Charlotte sighed. And then? I don't know. If there's something in your research report that Song Baiching is interested in, I think I might become a real lab rat. I don't know if I can still see you then. I'm so worried. I'm a little scared. Fan suddenly covered Charlotte's mouth. I won't let you continue. It's not fair to you. You're a hero, and you're also the most intelligent person I've ever met. How could someone like you become their lab rat? I don't agree. Charlotte moved her hand away, and he smiled bitterly. There's nothing I can do if you don't agree. This is just the beginning, and that Song Baiching is already so strong. Although I don't know what his real identity is, even your grandfather has to listen to his commands. How can his identity be simple? In addition, you think I'm a hero, the person with the highest IQ in the world, but in the eyes of Song Baiching and some other people, I'm a rare research subject. I represent a lot of benefits, and this benefit is so great that they're willing to destroy me. Do you understand what I mean? Fan hugged Charlotte tightly. I won't allow anyone to hurt you. You're not a lab rat. You're my hero. You're the person I love. I could do anything for you. Tell me, what should I do to help you? You want to help me? You're telling me this at a time like this. Do you want me to stand by and watch? Do you want me to submit a research report that turns you into a lab rat? Fan was angry, and her little eyes were fierce. She was serious. Charlotte's heart was moved, and he couldn't help but turn over and press her under his body. I'm talking about something very important. We can talk about it like this. Fan. Chapter 630. The mysterious ZN Bureau brought a crisis to Charlotte. This crisis was actually within his expectations, but it just came ahead of time. Before Song Baiching arrived, Charlotte was fighting alone. Now, he had a comrade, and that was Fan. The next day, in a laboratory on the first floor of the villa. Mr. Xia, thank you for your cooperation. That's it for today. I will come to you when I need your help. Fan said to Charlotte with a blank expression. Charlotte pulled out the wire of the instrument stuck to his skin, put on his clothes, and left the laboratory. During the whole process, he didn't say a word to Fan. Of course, this was done for Song Baiching. This laboratory was installed with surveillance cameras after Song Baiching arrived. He could see the scene of Fan's work. Just after Charlotte left Fan's laboratory, Song Baiching and Fan Yiming bought Fan's laboratory. Fan was sorting out the information of Charlotte's body that she had just collected. When Song Baiching and Fan Yiming came in, she just looked up and then buried herself in her work. Mr. Song, Charlotte is a very smart person. You see, he was very cooperative when you came, Fan Yiming said. He is indeed a very smart person. Don't you think he is too smart? While speaking, Song Baiching walked to Fan's workbench and looked at Fan's work. Fan stopped her work. Mr. Song, you are interfering with my work. If there is nothing else, please leave here. Song Baiching frowned slightly. Fan's attitude obviously made him a little uncomfortable, but he didn't show it. He smiled. Well, you're the most outstanding talent in the field of bioengineering in the country. I believe in your ability. I just came to see how your work is going. By the way, can you handle it in a week? Fan said faintly. If I can't handle it, no one in the country can. 1 week, no problem. I'll give you a satisfactory report in a week. That's good. You can continue with your work. Song Baiching turned around and left. Fan Yiming said, Fan, how can you speak to Mr. Song with such an attitude? Fan looked at Fan Yiming. Is there something wrong with my attitude? I'm a researcher, and I'm only responsible for my own work. I don't need to please a person of unknown origin. Fan Yiming was a little angry, but he didn't know what to say. Then, he turned around and left. In the corridor, Song Baiching said, Elder Fan, you don't have to care about my attitude. I'm not like those officials who value their reputation more than anything else. I want results, not face. Fan is the best bioengineer in our country. I believe in her ability. That's enough. Fan Yiming sighed. It's all mine and her parents' fault for spoiling her. This child doesn't know how to speak, and her ability to interact with others is also weak. Forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. I'm going to Charlotte's workshop to take a look. Elder Fan, do you want to come? Okay, let's go to Charlotte's workplace to take a look. I really want to see how he works. Fan Yiming said. Just as Fan Yiming and Song Baiqing left the villa in the laboratory, Fan Fan looked at the data on the apparatus in shock. Her expression was like she was looking at a cat that grew wings and could fly. But this expression of shock only lasted for a short period of time, so short that it only lasted for a few blinks of the eye. Then, she returned to her previous state, calm and focused, a standard working state. However, her heart was in turmoil. Under inductive microstimulation, his brain's Y-wave frequency exceeded 300 Hz. This is almost 10 times that of a normal person. And this is only a weak inductive stimulation. If he was extremely focused on something, or in a fighting state, how strong would his brain waves be? My God, what kind of brain does he have? In her mind suddenly appeared the scene of Charlotte using chalk to solve chemistry problems in the Academy of Science. At that time, Charlotte calmly stood in front of the blackboard, writing as if his pen was flying. Even for some parts that required the assistance of a calculator, he wrote the answer without thinking. His calculation speed was amazing. Now that she thought about it, this was not a coincidence. If Charlotte didn't have this kind of extraordinary brain, how could he have done this? She also thought of Xia Lei's various achievements. He had single-handedly developed the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Gale assault rifle. He had also single-handedly created the Lei Long intelligent machine tool. He could even process ultra-precision parts that were currently impossible to process in the entire world after being in a daze for a long time. Her heart came up with a sentence. Could it be that I fell in love with a super brain? No, that's not the right name. I should describe him as Mighty Superman. Wait, Mighty Superman? What am I thinking? He is my boyfriend. Although, I can't disclose our relationship now. I should do something for him. Her thinking was as special as her physique, but her actions were not at all ambiguous. She skillfully operated the apparatus and changed the abnormal data on it. She didn't know that her every move was under the surveillance of Charlotte. Just as she was changing the data, behind the villa, Charlotte withdrew his X-ray vision and then ran like a civet through the green belt to the new workshop. He had to rush into the new workshop before Song Baiqing and Fan Yiming arrived. When Charlotte returned to the new workshop, Song Baiqing and Fan Yiming hadn't arrived yet. The image of Fan Fan changing the data appeared in Charlotte's mind, and his mouth also showed a trace of a smile. Previously, when he was tested on his brain in the laboratory, faced with Fan Fan and the guided stimulation of the instrument, he was actually able to control his thoughts and make his brain's reaction less intense. But he didn't do that. He wanted her to see something real and then observe her reaction. If Fan Fan didn't change the test data, then his plan to use the handsome man trick would actually fail, and he would have to deal with the later part carefully. But judging from Fan Fan's reaction, his original plan to use the handsome man trick was successful, and it was quite successful. This also strengthened his confidence to get through this crisis according to the original plan, because with Fan Fan's help, he had more options. In addition, he had another purpose. That was to let Fan Fan come into contact with his extraordinary brain. She liked men with high IQ, and doing this would help him to further conquer her heart. Only by making her fall in love with him would she be willing to work for him. Falling in love would make a woman become blindly obedient, and this was exactly what he wanted. At this time, Fan Yiming's voice came from the workshop. Mr. Xia, are you inside? If possible, we would like to come in and take a look. Charlotte grabbed a piece of cloth soaked in engine oil, wiped his body and hands, and then went to open the door. Sorry, Mr. Xia, I'm disturbing your work. Song Baiqing said politely. Charlotte said, It's okay, please come in. Fan Yiming and Song Baiqing entered the new workshop, and the workshop door automatically closed. Mr. Xia, your security measures here are very good, Song Baiqing said. Charlotte said, Mr. Song, if you weren't old Fan student, I wouldn't have let you in. Do you know what I'm doing here? Let me tell you, I'm building the second generation of the Thunder Dragon AI machine tool. It will surpass the previous generation. Once it comes out, it will become the world's unique, super integrated AI machine tool. Not only will it improve the productivity and manufacturing level of our Thunderhorse Army factory, it will also become a decent business card of our China manufacturing. Mr. Xia, you're really amazing. Fan Yiming sighed. Although I study materials science, I also know the gap between our country's manufacturing and Europe and America's. You've wiped out this gap, and even walked in front of Europe and America's manufacturing. With your XL 2500 sniper rifle, Gale assault rifle, and Thunder Dragon AI machine tool, you've made me sigh in admiration. Charlotte smiled. Old Fan, you're too polite. Fan Yiming said, I'm not polite. Your achievements have already surpassed my lifetime achievements. Not to mention those scientific scum who only know how to do research on paper to cheat funding. You're a practical person, and your things have brought real benefits to this country. Charlotte used the corner of his eye to observe the change in Song Baiching's expression. Song Baiching's face didn't have any obvious change. He just listened to Fan Yiming's praise. It was a kind of indifferent attitude. Charlotte felt a bit uncomfortable, but he didn't show it on his face. He smiled and said, "Ha, old Fan, not everyone agrees with my work and achievements. Some people drink milk, but think about the taste of beef. Who knows, they might already have the idea of slaughtering the cow and eating its meat." Song Baiching's expression finally changed. He looked at Charlotte and said lightly, "Mr. Xia, what do you mean by that?" Charlotte said, "Nothing, just a bit emotional." Song Baiching said, "Some emotions are better left unsaid, because emotions themselves have no power. They can't change anything." Charlotte laughed. Mr. Song's opinion is really unique, and it makes sense. However, I, Charlotte, am not an indecisive and sentimental weakling. I will only do things that I am willing to do. No one can force me to do things that I am not willing to do. Mr. Xia, you are without a doubt a very strong person. Your ability has already surpassed all the people I know. However, in the end, you are only one person. Your power will always have a limit. If I may be so bold to ask, in the face of an absolutely strong external force, will you still be able to do something that no one can force you to do? Song Baiching's eyes had a hint of provocation. Charlotte slightly shrugged. Mr. Song, then do you think that a person like me needs to do things according to other people's wishes? I believe that everything has a limit. I have a tolerant attitude towards some people and things, but my patience has a limit. If a person or something exceeds your limit, what will you do? I probably have a lot of choices. Emigrating is probably one of them. I believe that it won't be difficult to find a suitable place for me in this world. United Arab Emirates, Argentina, Russia, Sweden, Canada, etc. I think that as long as I spread the news, they will send people to contact me. After all, I have too many things in my hands that they can only dream of obtaining. Song Baiching originally had a trace of smile on his face, but when he heard Charlotte say emigrate, the smile on his face disappeared. Indeed, for a super talent like Charlotte, as long as he wanted to emigrate, there was almost no country that would not be willing to accept him. In this world, not all countries were allies of the United States. If there were countries that were willing to provide political asylum for Snowden, then there would definitely be countries that would be willing to accept Charlotte. Moreover, with the technology that Charlotte had in his hands, his value was simply 10,000 times that of Snowden's. "Hi, you guys are talking too far." Fan Yiming seemed to feel the smell of gunpowder between the two of them. He quickly came out to save the situation. "Mr. Xia, you can busy yourself. Our purpose here is just to take a look. You don't have to deliberately greet us." Okay then, you guys can take a look. I have to start working." Charlotte walked to the site where the second generation of Lei Long AI was assembled. This could be considered as his first direct confrontation with Song Baiching from the ZN Bureau, and he, a small army of the other side, exceeded my bottom line? Fine, I will make you lose both your money and your life. This was the signal that Charlotte released to Song Baiching. Chapter 631. There were a lot of people who came to the cafeteria for dinner. Charlotte sat alone at a table, and no one dared to disturb him. In the eyes of the workers of the Thunder Horse military factory, he was almost like a king. Moreover, the king seemed to be very angry. Charlotte's angry appearance was made for Song Baiching and Fan Yiming to see, and the two of them were also eating in the cafeteria. There was also Fan Fan, who was also in the cafeteria, sitting at the same table with Song Baiching and Fan Yiming. Fan Fan actually wanted to eat at the same table with Charlotte, but her relationship with Charlotte could not be discovered by Song Baiching and his grandfather. Moreover, for a long time in the future, her relationship with Charlotte had to be carried out in secret and could not be made public. However, she had no regrets. He looks very angry. Fan Yiming lowered his voice. Mr. Song, are we pushing him too hard? Song Baiching said, I am also following orders. Whether he is happy or not, you have to give me a satisfactory answer within this week. The conversation between the two had been under the surveillance of the corner of Charlotte's eyes, and he also used the lip-reading technique to interpret the conversation between the two. All right then. Fan Yiming looked at Fan Fan and said, Did you hear that? You have to hurry up. Fan Fan said, All right, then I will carry out another project tonight to collect his body fluids. 1 week. 1 week I can give a realistic research report. Very good. You're the best bioengineer in the country. I believe you. Song Baiching said. Fan Fan said, However, I have to take down the surveillance camera in my laboratory. Mr. Xia is very disgusted with that surveillance camera. He said that it is an invasion of him. Song Baiching frowned. Is this his request? No, I was the one who suggested it, said Fan Fan. But tonight, you can't let him hand over that kind of sample under your supervision. If you insist, you go and persuade him. Song Baiching thought for a moment and said, All right, just tonight. These conversations did not escape Charlotte's eyes and his lip-reading spell. He liked Fan Fan more and more. Ding-ling-ling. Ding-ling-ling. Charlotte's cell phone suddenly rang. Charlotte took out his phone and glanced at it. The caller ID made him stunned. The contact shown on the screen was wife. This call was from Shinta Tianyin. Although he had divorced Shinta Tianyin, the contact on his phone was still wife. He had not changed it. Why is she calling? Charlotte's heart was full of curiosity. After hesitating for a moment, he still answered the phone. Honey, it was Shinta Tianyin's voice. You. Charlotte's answer. Shinta Tianyin still called him husband. He did not know what to say. Oh, I was wrong. It was Shinta Tianyin's voice. We're divorced now. I can't call you husband anymore. But I'm used to it. You don't mind, do you? Charlotte smiled bitterly. No. How have you been recently? Not good, Shinta Tianyin said. Charlotte did not know what to say again. Is Liang Xiao back? It was Shinta Tianyin's voice. She's back. How do you know? Charlotte was very surprised because Liang Xiao's current identity was an agent of 101 innings. Her rank was the same as Tang Yuyin and Long Bing. Shinta Tianyin was a businesswoman. She had almost no channel to know about this. Ryu Yungnam and Xiao Xue bought a house for Liang Xiao. That building happened to belong to the Wanxiang Group. Xiao Xue specifically pointed out on the purchase contract that the names of Liang Xiao and Liang Zhengchun should be signed on the title. So I guess that Liang Xiao was back. Shinta Tianyin said, Why did Xiao Xue and Zhengnin go to the Wanxiang Group to buy a house? Really? Aren't they deliberately causing trouble? Charlotte's heart was depressed, but he said, Liang Zhengchun is my master. You know that. After returning to China, he has been renting a house. He's my master. I have to be filial to him. I know, so I asked the person in charge of the building to pick the best villa in the building for your master and Liang Xiao. I only charge 1 yuan. I have asked Xiao Xue to use the WeChat red envelope to complete the payment. Shinta Tianyin said, How can this be? How much is the villa? I will pay you the balance. You want to talk to me about money? Well, you come here. Let's calculate how much I owe you. I will pay you the balance. If I don't have enough money, I will mortgage it to you. Charlotte, when are you coming to see my dad? He wants to see you and talk to you. Charlotte was silent for a while and said, After a while, the Thunder Horse Army factory is being upgraded. I can't leave. Shouldn't tea on inside. Well, that's it. You hang up first. Well then, goodbye. Charlotte hung up the phone. His heart was filled with melancholy, but there was also a sense of relaxation, as if he had put down a stone in his heart. At this time, Song Baiching, Fan Yiming, and Fan Fan finished eating and passed by Charlotte's table. Mr. Xia, please enjoy. Fan Yiming greeted Charlotte. Charlotte said lightly, Take care. Fan Fan said, Mr. Xia, please come to my laboratory later. Charlotte frowned. I've been tired all day. Can't I have a good rest at night? Fan Fan said, Mr. Xia, it won't take much of your time. It will be over soon. Charlotte didn't say anything and looked very unhappy. Song Baiching said, Mr. Xia, please cooperate. I think you also want to settle this matter as soon as possible. Only then did Charlotte say, Okay, I'll come over later. Fan Fan just glanced at Charlotte with a cold expression, but her eyes contained tenderness and honey. Then, she left with Fan Yiming and Song Baiching. Charlotte was slightly happy and thought to himself, her acting skills are not bad. She has the potential to be a secret agent. After all, she was a woman with a high IQ. There were some things that she didn't need Charlotte to teach her. She also knew what to do. Just after Song Baiching, Fan Yiming and Fan Fan left the cafeteria, Charlotte also got up and left the cafeteria. He chose another path to return to the villa behind the factory. He didn't walk far before he saw Song Baiching, Fan Yiming, and Fan Fan on the other side of the road. The speed of the three people wasn't fast. Song Baiching and Fan Yiming were talking about something, and Fan Fan was walking at the back, occasionally looking back in the direction of the cafeteria. Charlotte's eyes locked on Song Baiching. Just as he was about to use the lip-reading technique to interpret the conversation between Song Baiching and Fan Yiming, Song Baiching suddenly took out his cell phone and said something to Fan Yiming. Then, he walked to the side of the road to answer the phone. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. His left eye immediately locked on Song Baiching's lips and used the lip-reading technique to interpret Song Baiching's words. Yes. Charlotte is quite cooperative, but he has some conflicting emotions. I don't care about his emotions. This matter is not up to him. Well, he probably doesn't know my identity yet, but he is a very smart person. I think he will have relevant speculations. Yes, I will pay attention. He won't know the existence of the ZN Bureau, right? He argued with me a few words today. He seemed to have given me a hint. He said that if I cross his bottom line, he may emigrate. Closely monitor his every move? No problem. Also freeze his passport. If he goes abroad before the results come out, it will be terrible. Although he couldn't hear the voice on the phone, Charlotte could guess that the person who called Song Baiching wasn't simple. Based on Song Baiching's current behavior, he seemed to be the subordinate of that person. Could it be the leader of the ZN Bureau? Charlotte guessed in his heart. Fan Fan and Fan Yiming? No problem. These two people are no problem. Fan Yiming is the top material scientist in the country, and Fan Fan is the best bioengineer in the country. Fan Fan will be responsible for the part aimed at Charlotte, and Fan Yiming will be responsible for the later part of the X Secret Gold project. This is our plan. So far, it has been going well. Results? It will take a week for the results to come out. Based on the parts that have been completed so far, Charlotte's body is stronger than the average person, but it is still within the normal range. There is nothing special. Of course, the most important data on the genetic chain has not come out yet. These two projects will take some time. I will urge Fan Fan to give the results as soon as possible. The genetic chain was the common name for DNA. Its main function was to store information for a long period of time. It was the blueprint of life. The instructions contained in it were needed to construct other compounds in the cell, such as proteins and RNA. DNA fragments with genetic information were called genes. As for the other DNA sequences, some directly functioned according to their own structure, while others were involved in regulating the expression of genetic information. It was easy to imagine how useful it was. In Fanfan's research, this project was undoubtedly the most important project, and it was also the most difficult hurdle for Charlotte. Because according to the function of the genetic chain, Charlotte's evolution would leave information in his genetic chain. Once this information was read, the secret that his body was in a state of evolution was no longer a secret. The information stored in the genetic chain could not be extracted by ordinary doctors, but the person responsible for this was the best bioengineer in China, Fan Fan. This kind of thing was nothing to her. Some people in the military are pressuring you. I'm not surprised. Charlotte is providing them with the best equipment so that they can hold their heads high internationally. However, they are martial artists after all, and their vision is very limited. They don't know how important what we are doing is. Our goal is the future. Mr. Z, no matter what, I will complete this mission. Goodbye. Mr. Z? Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. This was the first time he had received information about a senior member of the ZN Bureau, although this was most likely just a code name. The significance to him was extraordinary. Song Baiching put away his phone and walked to the villa. Charlotte withdrew his gaze and also walked to the villa. This was not an open and above-board confrontation. The ZN Bureau was in the dark, and he was in the light. He needed to grasp more information about the ZN Bureau, and Song Baiching was the only way for him to obtain this information. While walking, Charlotte spoke on his phone. Hey, Yian, help me investigate Song Baiching. I want all of his information. Tang Yian's voice came from the phone. It's really strange. You didn't ask Long Bing to help you with this kind of thing. You asked me? Are you going to help or not? Just tell me. You only know how to be mean to me. Did I say I won't help you? Then thank you. If thank you is not enough, treat me to a meal and a movie. No problem. Call me after you're done. I'll treat you to a meal and a movie. Okay, wait for my news. Charlotte put away his phone, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. There was only one reason why he didn't ask Long Bing to ask Tang Yuyan for help. That was Long Bing had no one behind her, while Tang Yuyan had the huge Tang family behind her. Anyone who wanted to touch Tang Yuyan would have to think twice before doing so. Chapter 632. The doors and windows of the laboratory were tightly shut, and even the curtains were drawn so that no light could pass through. The surveillance camera installed in the corner of the wall had also been taken down, and Song Baiching could no longer monitor the situation here. Fan Fan had made so many preparations just to collect Charlotte's sample. I'm ready. Are you ready? Under the light, Fan Fan looked at Charlotte lovingly. What kind of sample do you want to collect? Charlotte had actually guessed it long ago, and there was a mischievous smile at the corner of his mouth. Fan Fan rolled her eyes at Charlotte. What do you think? How are you going to collect this sample? Fan Fan leaned forward and gently unzipped Charlotte's zipper. Is the sample you're collecting accurate? Anyway, you don't want me to give that song guy a real research report, do you, my Superman? Charlotte was speechless. Fan Fan squatted down next to Charlotte's body. She wanted to use her little mouth to persuade Charlotte to hand over his sample. There were footsteps outside the door, and Charlotte looked back nervously. In the vision of his left eye, the wall and the door disappeared at the same time. It was also at that moment that Song Baiching appeared in front of his eyes. There were no surveillance cameras, but this did not seem to hinder Song Baiching's interest in filling in the blanks. He approached the door quietly, and his expression was a little nervous and cautious. Song Baiching came to the door and then put one ear on the door. It was obvious that he wanted to eavesdrop on the movements in the laboratory. Fan Fan was still buried in her work, but the eavesdropper outside the door had already made Charlotte nervous. Fortunately, the process of Fan Fan persuading him was very gentle. Otherwise, if it was as exaggerated as in the movies, the eavesdropper outside the door would have reached out and knocked on the door. Song Baiching wasn't a fool. The fact that he came here meant that he had his strengths. It wasn't easy to deceive him. Charlotte bit the bullet and pinched Fanfan's face. After getting her attention, she pointed to the door and mouthed to her, "Someone is outside." Fan Fan was a smart girl. She quickly understood what had happened. After a moment of silence, she suddenly said, "Mr. Xia, you don't have to feel embarrassed. It's nothing. You can think of me as a doctor in a hospital. Patients don't need to be embarrassed in front of doctors." Her reaction was really fast. Charlotte breathed a sigh of relief and said, Well, I can treat you as a doctor in the hospital, but please turn around. I really can't take samples in front of you. Okay, no problem. Fan Fan lowered her head again. There were some things that girls were born to do, but not all girls were willing to do so for their men. But Fan Fan wanted to think that Charlotte did this because Charlotte was her hero, her Superman. Charlotte continued, "That song guy makes me very unhappy. I don't like him." These words were obviously said to Song Baiching. Who does he think he is? Do I have to cooperate with him when he wants to do something? Do I have to give him what he wants? If he really pisses me off, I'll turn the Thunder Horse Army factory into a toothpaste factory. Outside the door, a sneer appeared on the corner of Song Baiching's mouth. He obviously didn't take Charlotte's threats seriously. Fan Fan raised her head and interrupted, "Mr. Xia, Mr. Song is actually just doing it for work. He has no ill intentions towards you. Please understand him." Charlotte gave Fan Fan a thumbs up. Fan Fan stuck out her tongue and pursed her lips. Then, she continued to work. "Miss Fan, do you know where this Mr. Song came from?" Charlotte said, "Sorry, I don't know." "Then forget it. Just pretend I didn't ask." Outside the door, Song Baiching nodded slightly. He was obviously very satisfied with Fan Fan's performance. Charlotte's voice came from the door again. "1 week, after a week, you guys will leave this place." The end of this sentence was a heavy nasal sound. A contemptuous smile appeared on the corner of Song Baiching's mouth as he left the room. In the room, Fan Fan gave Charlotte a thumbs up and ran to her workbench. Charlotte walked over and lifted her short skirt from behind. Fan Fan pleased him, and he had to please her, and pleasing her was very easy. She was the easiest girl in the world to please and satisfy an hour later in the same laboratory. Fan Fan looked at the analysis data together and was dumbfounded. After a long while, she said, "Oh my God, his tadpoles can actually kill each other. What a pervert. This way, it's almost impossible for him to get a girl pregnant. But if a girl were to give birth to a child, what kind of monster would that child be?" A question, but there was no answer to this question. These data have to be changed as well. Otherwise, some people might arrange for a bunch of women to be pregnant with Charlotte's children. Fan Fan muttered to herself. When she said this, her cheeks inexplicably turned red. No one knew what she was thinking. At the same time, in the green belt behind the villa, Charlotte quietly withdrew his gaze and turned to leave. Fan Fan even wanted to change such data and cheat for him. He actually had nothing to worry about anymore. The next day, Tang Yin came to the Le Ma Jun factory and found a new workshop where Charlotte worked. Tang Yin stuffed a thick file bag into Charlotte's hands. "This is the person you asked me to investigate. Take a look for yourself." "It's done so quickly? You're really amazing," Charlotte said with a smile. Tang Yin didn't say anything. She just stared at Charlotte with a pair of big black eyes. Charlotte opened the file bag and took out the things inside to take a look. He was stunned on the spot. The information in the file bag was downloaded and printed from the computer. It was a thick stack, but all the words were covered by thick red lines. Each piece of information had the words "top secret" in bold font. "This," Charlotte said, "what's going on?" "I want to ask you what's going on." Tang Yin stared at Charlotte and said angrily, "I was wondering why you didn't ask Long Bing to help you yesterday, but you found me. It turns out that you want me to poke the hornet's nest." Charlotte smiled. "What do you mean? I don't know this person, so I asked you for help. You are much more capable than Long Bing. If I don't ask you for help, who else can I ask for help with this?" Tang Yin curled her lips. "Put on a hat for me. I won't be fooled by you. Why would I put on a hat for you? You're the eldest daughter of the Tang sect. Who dares to cause trouble for you?" Charlotte said, "Don't you understand? The reason why I asked you for help instead of Long Bing is because no one dares to touch you." Although he said not to put on a hat, Charlotte put an even higher hat on Tang Yin. A smile finally appeared on Tang Yin's face. "You only know how good I am now. What have you been doing before?" Charlotte said, "I have always known how good you are. Tell me, I have helped you so much. How are you going to compensate me?" Charlotte shook the rough information in his hands and said with a bitter smile, "You have helped me so much. Do you still have the nerve to ask me for compensation?" "Why not? I don't care. You have to treat me to dinner and then watch a movie. Charlotte, tell me, what trouble have you encountered? Charlotte didn't say it. Tang Yuyin said, the person you asked me to investigate, his security level is ridiculously high. In China, there are very few people that we, 101 floors, can investigate, but this person is one of them. I can't find any information about him, and I think I will be questioned. Who will question you? Is it Boss Sure? Tang Yuyin said, I am not afraid of my godfather scolding me. I am afraid. As soon as she finished speaking, her cell phone rang. She took out her cell phone, glanced at it, and then handed it to Charlotte. Charlotte saw the caller ID on the cell phone, Godfather. He was just thinking about whether Sherborin would question Tang Yuyin, and Sherborin immediately called. It was not difficult to guess that the Xian Bureau already knew that Tang Yuyin had looked at Song Baiching's file. This caused him to be extremely shocked because his opponent's speed was actually so fast. Can you put on speaker? Charlotte asked tentatively. Tang Yuyin said, yes, but you have to treat me to dinner and a movie. Charlotte smiled. No problem. Tang Yuyin looked at the speaker and then answered the phone. You girl. Sherborin's voice came from a speaker of a cell phone. What are you doing? Tang Yuyin said, Godfather, what are you doing? I'm on the street. Is there an urgent task? You still want to lie to me? Sherborin's voice was full of anger. Is there no sound on the street? You're with Charlotte, right? Tang Yuyin looked at Charlotte and didn't know what to say. Is he with you? Tang Yuyin motioned for Charlotte to speak, but Charlotte shook his head. Tang Yuyin then said, Godfather, I am in the bathroom, and Charlotte is with me. What is our relationship? Don't talk to me about this. Stop investigating that person immediately. You can't investigate him, and Charlotte can't either. Okay, I got it. I was just curious, so I looked at it, but I didn't see anything. That person's file has been encrypted, and it's all thick lines. Tang Yuyin said, don't you know that curiosity killed the cat? That's the end of this matter. I know that Charlotte is with you. Tell him not to mess around. No one can help him in this matter. Sherborin's voice was very strict. I will tell him. Godfather, is there anything else? Tang Yuyin asked. Get back here right now. Sherborin hung up the phone. Tang Yuyin pouted and looked very unhappy. He must have been scolded, otherwise he wouldn't be angry at me. I have to go back. You must fulfill what you promised me. Charlotte smiled and said, don't worry. I'll call you after I'm busy for a few days. It's a deal. Tang Yuyin left. Charlotte watched Tang Yuyin leave, but his mind was replaying every detail of the phone call between Tang Yuyin and Sherborin. The voice from the phone, including the extremely subtle environment sound, also appeared in his mind. This replaying, he quickly found that when Sherborin was talking to Tang Yuyin, there was a person standing beside Sherborin. Who was that person? Could it be Mr. Z? Charlotte couldn't help but guess. Chapter 633. A week passed in the blink of an eye. During this week, Charlotte had been dealing with Song Baiching. Fan had been secretly helping him. Not only did she cover for him, but she also helped him modify the research report. A week passed, and the deadline given by Song Baiching was up. Early that morning, Song Baiching came to Fan's laboratory. Fan was preparing her research report. When Song Baiching came in, she said, Mr. Song, you came at the right time. I was just about to go to see you. Has the research report come out? Song Baiching asked. Fan said, yes, Mr. Xia's gene chain data finally came out last night. After that, I stayed up late to write this report. Very good. Let me see the report. Song Baiching couldn't wait to walk over. Fan handed the sorted research report to Song Baiching. Song Baiching flipped through it. At first, he seemed very excited and had a smile on his face, but soon his face became gloomy and the smile disappeared. This is your research report? Song Baiching looked straight at Fan. Fan said, yes, this is my research report. Mr. Song, is there anything wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with your report. It looks normal. After a pause, Song Baiching said, Miss Fan, are you sure that the subject of this report is Charlotte? Fan said with certainty, of course, I'm studying Mr. Xia. This report is also a summary of my work this week. But Song Baiching frowned and wanted to say something, but stopped. Fan Fan said, Mr. Song, is there anything wrong with my work and my research report? Or are you questioning my ability to work? Miss Fan, you are the best bioengineer in our country. Of course, I believe in your ability to work. However, the subject of our research is Charlotte. Don't you think he's special? Is Mr. Xia very special? Fan Fan said, he's very smart and strong. He's even the person with the highest IQ I've ever seen. In my report, there's also an IQ test for him. His IQ is as high as 298, which is more than just the highest IQ test ever. If that's what you're referring to, he's really special. In fact, Charlotte's IQ was much higher than that. The data in his research report was a weakened version, but even so, it still surprised Song Baiching. He obviously didn't see the part about Charlotte's IQ test. Mr. Song, we should be glad that the smartest people in the world are in China, not the United States or Japan, Fan Fan said. Is he just smart? Song Baiching was obviously unwilling to accept this fact. In his opinion, not only was Charlotte abnormal, but he also had many secrets. The result given by Fan Fan was very different from what he had imagined. Fan Fan said, Mr. Song, I think you probably don't understand what an IQ of 298 means. 50% of the people in the world have an IQ between 90 and 110, which is a normal level. 2.5% of people can reach 130, and these people are high IQs. Only 0.4% of people can reach 140, and these people are geniuses. My IQ is 139, and I'm only in the range of 2.5%. My grandfather's IQ is higher than mine. His IQ is 148, and he's in the range of 0.4%. But even my grandfather's IQ is only half of Charlotte's. Do you know the smartest genius in history, Leonardo da Vinci? He's recognized as the smartest person in the world, but his IQ is only 230, 60 less than Charlotte's. Do you still think I'm just smart if I tell you this? Song Baiching's eyes flickered, and no one knew what he was thinking. Fan Fan constantly instilled in Song Baiching the idea that Charlotte was the smartest person in the world, which was actually planned by Charlotte early on. In fact, this was the only way to make the cunning Song Baiching believe it. Other than that, there was no other way to fool Song Baiching. After a long silence, Song Baiching said, Is this true? Fan Fan's eyebrows showed a trace of displeasure. Mr. Song, what do you mean? Would I lie to you? You're probably the first person to question me like this. Since you don't believe in my ability, why did you invite me here? You can find someone else. I didn't mean that. Miss Fan, it's just that this matter is too important. Fan Fan interrupted Song Baiching's words. Mr. Song, I've been in contact with you for such a long time. Although you didn't tell me, I can probably guess your purpose. Huh? Song Baiching's eyes changed. Fan Fan continued. You probably regard Mr. Xia as an abnormal human being or even a superhuman, like Spider-Man, Superman, or The Flash in Hollywood. But those are movies, not reality. Throughout the 5,000 years of human history, has there ever been a superhuman? These words were actually taught by Charlotte to Fan Fan. Otherwise, how would she know Song Baiching's purpose? I don't believe in superhumans in this world. I asked you to study Charlotte, and my purpose is only for the X-Secret Gold Project. He's the only person who can come into contact with the ancient alloy. We need to figure out why. My work and my report can't give you the answer you want. Miss Fan, I'll ask you one last time. Are you sure your research report is accurate? I'm sure. Are you also sure your research process didn't make any mistakes? Or did you miss anything? I'm sure. Okay, your work is done. I'll take your research report with me. Before new instructions come, you can arrange your work and time however you want. Song Baiching closed the research report. Fan Fan was the best bioengineer in the country. Her work and her report itself had a certain degree of authority, not to mention that it was completed with the help of Fan Yiming, the president of the Academy of Sciences. There was no point in continuing to question her. Only then did Fan Fan let out a sigh of relief. Song Baiching took the research report that Fan Fan gave him and left the lab. Mr. Song, what's the result? Fan Yiming, who was waiting outside the door, asked. Song Baiqing said, "You should ask your granddaughter. She knows better than me." Fan Yiming's face was a little embarrassed after being given the cold shoulder. His lips moved, but he didn't say anything. Song Baiqing entered his room and closed the door. Then he took out his phone. "Mr. Z, Fan's research report is out." Song Baiqing's tone was slightly heavy. A man's voice came from the phone. "What's the result?" Song Baiqing was silent for a moment before he said, "It's different from what I imagined. Charlotte is very normal." "Very normal?" "His body is very normal, but his IQ is frighteningly high. Fan's test score is 298. She said that he is the smartest person in the world. It is also the highest IQ test score in history." "Are you saying that his achievements today are all because of his IQ?" Song Baiqing said, "Other than this possibility, I can't think of any other possibility. Bring the research report back for me." "Yes, Mr. Z." "Be careful. Charlotte had Tang Yun investigate you. He has already started to suspect you." "I know. I will be careful." Song Baiqing hung up the phone. After ending the call with Mr. Z, Song Baiqing looked at the file in his hand. He didn't move for a few minutes. He kept talking to himself in his heart. The smartest person in the world? His IQ is higher than great scientists like Leonardo da Vinci and Einstein? An IQ as high as 298. How can this be proven? Humph. Half an hour later, Song Baiqing arrived at the new workshop where Charlotte worked. Charlotte opened the door for Song Baiqing. Covered in oil, he looked like a blue-collar worker and not the smartest person in the world. "Mr. Song, is that Fan's research report?" Charlotte saw the file in Song Baiqing's hand and was very tempted. "Can I see it?" "Sorry, I can't give it to you." Song Baiqing immediately rejected Charlotte and said, "But I can tell you that you are normal. It's just what? Your brain is very special. Fan said that your IQ is as high as 298. She said that you are the smartest person in the world." "Huh?" Charlotte laughed. "Why don't I feel that way?" Song Baiqing said lightly. "To be honest, I don't believe it either. After all, Fan Yiming, the president of the Academy of Sciences, only has an IQ of 148 and you have 298. You're twice as high as Fan Yiming. Tell me, what are you here for? You don't have to beat around the bush with me. As you can see, I am working. I am very busy," Charlotte said. Song Baiqing opened the file and took out a piece of A4 paper and a pen. Then, he handed the paper and pen to Charlotte. The A4 paper was not a blank piece of paper. On it was an extremely complicated mathematical problem. All kinds of numbers, symbols, and formulas took up most of the paper. "I want you to calculate this problem," Song Baiqing said. This was his purpose. Charlotte glanced at Song Baiqing and then took the paper and pen. He could refuse and even ask Song Baiqing to get lost, but this was not a wise move. Song Baiqing brought this problem here, obviously doubting his IQ and the accuracy of Fan's research report. If he refused, the sly and suspicious Song Baiqing would definitely have more doubts. If the ZN Bureau didn't believe Fan's research report, it would definitely be a terrible thing. All the previous acting and doing would be in vain. "Let's find a quiet place," Song Baiqing said. "I asked a mathematician to provide this problem for me. It is said to be very difficult to solve. I can give you some time to solve the problem." "No need. Let's just do it here. I am in a hurry. Give me 10 minutes. Charlotte squatted on the ground, laid the paper on the ground, and began to solve the problem. The numbers, symbols, and formulas on the paper entered his brain. His brain also began to work. All the mathematical knowledge he had come into contact with emerged like a tide. Each knowledge point extended infinitely, intersected with each other, and expanded to a higher level. In his brain at this moment, a mathematical world was quietly taking shape. This world started from the most basic mathematics, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and then advanced mathematics. They were like a large net spread into the vast and boundless starry sky. The starry sky continued to extend, and the large net also continued to extend. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.